Okay. Okay, we're going to get started in one more minute. We want to thank everyone for joining us today.
Friends, we're so happy to see you. Let's just make this layout as friendly as possible. Welcome, welcome, welcome to African Diaspora for Harris's National Organizing Call. My name is Samhar Araya. I'm one of the national co-organizers, and we're really pleased to have you join us for this incredible evening we have planned for you. I'm here with my colleagues, Ajwa and Neka, who will also introduce themselves, but we're really just so thrilled to have all of you join us. I know everyone's coming in now. The link has been sent to viewers, to registrants. You're probably watching this live on live streaming. If you're watching this after the fact, don't worry, you're in for a treat as well. We know that you're all going to walk away with an exciting, energized sense of mobility, of agency, of power. You're going to be inspired by the lineup we have for you. And we know that you're going to walk away with real actionable steps that you can do to mobilize your community and your people in support of Kamala Harris for president on November 5. So welcome again. And I want to pass it off to my colleagues to also introduce themselves. We will keep our own introductions brief because you'll hear about ADH throughout the call. But we also really look forward to connecting with all of you after today. Neka, could I give it to you, please?
Thank you so much, Samhar. Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Adwa, and new joining members of the African Diaspora for Harris for President. I'm so proud of this moment as we gather as a community, united by our shared heritage, values, and vision for a better future. My name is Neka Chapwin. I'm a political policy and foreign affairs strategist, but most importantly, I'm a member of the African diaspora. Born in Nigeria by Nigerian parents, migrated to Italy, and made the United States my home. I'm so proud to be part of this group of leaders led by women. We are the African Diaspora, a group woven from the rich tapestry of Africans' diverse cultures, histories, and experiences. But more than that, we're a group bound by the commitment to contribute to society in a place that we all now call home, while never forgetting the lands where we come from. We are here and excited to elect our first Black and Asian president this evening. So I'm so glad that we're here. I'm so blessed to be in your midst. I am so glad that our voices and our votes will now have power. So it's our responsibility to wield that power for the good, both here and abroad. So thank you so much for having me today. Thank you. And I'm passing it to Adjo.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, my sisterine and my brethren. Finally, right, we are getting together. Actually, we've been mobilizing for weeks, maybe some of us even months, because we know what is at stake. I'm Ayo Tometi, President and CEO of Ghana Diaspora PAC, but also a proud co-national organizer for the African Diaspora for Harris, because we have to meet this moment. I know that some of you might say, well, we're not sure if things are going to change. We are not sure if this is the right choice. We're here to say that we have no choice, that this election is an election of real consequence for our families and for our future generations, and that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz is the best choice for Africans living in this country for numerous reasons. It only was just 2 weeks ago, perhaps it was last week, where we heard former President Donald Trump say that Africans were terrorists and potentially asylum escapees and other derogatory language. I think we can all agree that it's time to move forward with a message of hope, of joy, and real discussion over what we like to see for the future of this country and all of us living in it. I'm so glad that we're all here tonight, to talk about exactly how we're going to enact this change. So I really hope that you strap in, get your tea, get your coffee, get your notepad, because we're going to talk about actions that you can take, that your families can take, your friends can take, whether you live in a battleground state or not. But tonight we will focus on the battleground states. We're going to talk about Virginia. We're going to talk about Minnesota. We're going to talk about North Carolina. We're going to talk about Pennsylvania. If you're here, please put your name in the chat, and rep your state. Also rep your country. There's at least speakers from at least 20 plus African countries on this call tonight. And so we're really excited that we're all coming together, but this is not the last time we'll come together. This is only the beginning. Please visit us at africandiasporaforharris.com. This is the address. Join. You can join the movement right now so that you can get notifications about phone banking, text banking, and also to find out about how you can donate en masse as a collective as African Diaspora for Harris. Thank you so much, and looking forward to this conversation today.
That's great. So we love this, and I know some of you are leaving a lot of comments in the chat, and we're loving your energy. And here's what we want, right? We want to show you the power of African diaspora community across the United States. We want to show you what it means to get involved. We want you to hear from people who look like you, who live like you, who come from communities and countries that you could relate to. Now, the reason African Diaspora for Harris was created was because we knew that there are multiple efforts across the country from African communities of all walks of life who are doing everything they can to mobilize their people. But there's a challenge in being visible, being made visible and being seen. And so African Diaspora for Harris was formed to exist as a coalition and as an example of all the multiple efforts that are underway, because 54 countries from the continent, plus its generational descendants, plus the communities who are invested in U.S.-Africa relations, means that there's so many players and so many interests and so many requests and so many priorities that we need to come together united. We need to come together to showcase our diversity. We need to come together and showcase our strength. And we need to come together and showcase how incredibly invested we are in our lives here and our lives of the ones we love in our ancestral homelands in Africa and wherever our families may be as members of the diaspora. Okay? So African Diaspora for Harris is a national coalition of African diaspora organizations, communities, individuals, grassroots organizations that are operating for electoral mobilizing. And we're all here united in our desire and in our focus to elect Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States. We know that for many people, there is a long history of looking at U.S. relations with Africa, its history with its priorities and approach to your different respective countries. But we also know that when it comes to having a leader in U.S. presidencies, we want them to understand Africa the way we do, our homelands the way we do, and our communities the way we do, here and there. And so we believe and we know that with Kamala Harris as our president, we have the greatest opportunity to present our interests and to make Africa a continued priority on U.S.-Africa relations. All right. So tonight, what we've done is we've set up a conversation. We've set up a series of special remarks from leaders all across the country. And these leaders are grassroots organizers. They are community leaders. They are elected officials. When you see how many people of the African diaspora are in public office at the city, state, and federal level, it is remarkable. And you'll hear how different communities are working to make sure that the African diaspora constituency is seen, made visible, and heard, and prioritized. And what we want you to do tonight is three things. We want you first to join the coalition. Go to africandiasporaforharris.com/join. We want you to make a donation to the Kamala Harris campaign. Tonight's donations are through African Diaspora for Harris, and your donation through this link, through our portal on our website, allows the campaign to see the power, the depth, the strength, and the range of supporters who believe in this African diaspora constituency. And we know that every dollar counts. So whether it's a dollar, 100, 1,000, whatever you think, it matters and it's helpful. And we want to show how invested we are with our time, talent, and treasure. And the last thing we want you to do, we want you to check your registration tonight to make sure that you're ready to vote. And we want you to get to the polls by November 5th, okay? Because all of tonight's energy is meant to jumpstart everybody, to spread the word, to make sure your paperwork is good, to make sure you have your voice heard on through your ballot, and to do what you can to get people to join you to the polls on November 5. All right, so africandiasporaforharris.com/donate. You can make that donation now, and you can volunteer and sign up with ADH. All right, so that's who we are. That's our mission, and we want to talk now about a little bit about the organizing, the importance of organizing, and the need for developing ourselves as constituencies for decision makers, and the power of coming together and organizing. I'd like to hand it over to my colleague, Neka, longtime organizer and leader in this space. Can you share?
Thank you so much, Samhar. I mean, we're, as the song Hasake says, organize. Every other day we organize. I mean, that song it's our anthem right now. We have to mobilize because to make sure that our interests and concerns and aspirations are represented in the highest offices of this nation. This moment for us is important because it's not just a challenge, it's also an opportunity to have our voices heard. The world is watching as we grapple with issues of racial justice, economic inequality, and global leadership. And as the African diaspora, we have a unique role and chance to help play in shaping the direction of this country. And so we have to get together. We have to start making phone calls. We have to start texting our communities. We have to show up at the polls in order to make sure that we are electing Kamala Harris. As a woman of color, she understands our struggles and our dreams in a way that no one else can. Her leadership represents not just the progress that we've made, but the future that we aspire to create. As we stand at a crossroad, the decisions that we're making today will define the legacy that we'll leave for the future generation. So by organizing the African Diaspora for Harris, we're not just supporting a candidate, we are affirming our belief in a fairer, more just America. We're sending a message that we're here, we're engaged, and ready to take our place in shaping this nation's future. So we're going to move with determination, knowing that our efforts today will lay the foundation for a brighter tomorrow, not just for ourselves, but for all of those people who look to America as a beacon of hope and opportunity. Together, we're going to make history, and together, we're going to represent the African diaspora. So please join us as we mobilize our communities here in the United States to get to the polls and vote for Kamala Harris for president. Thank you.
Fantastic, fantastic. There's probably a lot of you on this call that have organized in different levels, and you may not even realize what you're doing is organizing, but to organize is truly part of the diasporic experience. What we do as diaspora communities, what do we do? What do we do every day? We convene, we connect, right? We mobilize each other to get things done for our people back home and our people here. And this is one of those moments. This is one of those moments where you have to really talk to your elders. You have to really talk to your children. You have to really talk to your nieces, your cousins. You have to tell them that their voice and their vote matter. And so organizing is the hard work of those calls. But when you think about it, it's what you already do every day. It's what you do when you check in with your sis and you check in with your fam. Okay? So I'd like to also now turn it over to Ajwa to talk a little bit about fundraising and our next steps and introduce our next speaker.
Yes. So we just posted the link. To fundraise, to donate. In fact, I'm going to show it again. There it is. We are trying to hit some goals tonight. Okay, so is so important, right? We're up against a significant challenge. I know you're seeing the polls. You're thinking, okay, maybe I don't have to do so much. Maybe I can kick back my feet and just watch the change and transformation happening. No, trust and believe that people who do not believe that immigrants need to be in this country, like yourself, who believe that racism and discrimination is a-okay, who believe that affirmative action is terrible and there doesn't need to be diversity in our schools, who believe that there shouldn't be affordable housing and affordable education, who believe that, Africa, US Africa relations is not a priority, are mobilizing and they're fundraising. Please, right now, click on the link and donate $5. It's only going to go up from here. So just donate your $5 now, okay? Just do your bit right now, because in about 10 minutes time, I'm going to say donate $20. Okay, so please do your bit, donate your $5, and then put your name next to it. It's going to be church in here tonight. And at the end of it, we're hoping to announce how much we fundraise. At this time, we are waiting for Congressman Gabe Amo. But in the meantime, I'm going to play 2 videos about exactly who we're talking about electing to the highest office of this land tonight. So 1 second for me.
In this election, we each face a question. What kind of country do we want to live in? There are some people who think we should be a country of chaos, of fear, of hate. But us, we choose something different. We choose freedom.
Freedom, freedom, I can't move. Freedom, cut me loose. Freedom, freedom, where are you? 'Cause I need freedom too.
The freedom not just to get by, but get ahead. The freedom to be safe from gun violence. The freedom to make decisions about your own body. We choose a future where no child lives in poverty, where we can all afford health care, where no one is above the law. We believe in the promise of America, and we're ready to fight for it. Because when we fight, we win. So join us. Go to KamalaHarris.com and let's get to work.
I'ma keep on running 'cause the winner don't quit on themselves.
Sometimes life is as much about the lessons you learn as the lessons you teach. When I grew up, community was a way of life. My high school class was 24 people. I was related to half of them. I learned to be generous towards my neighbors, compromise without compromising my values, and work for the common good. My dad was in the Army, and with his encouragement, I joined the Army National Guard when I was 17. I served for 24 years. I used my GI benefits to go to college and become a public school teacher. I coached football and taught social studies for 20 years. And I tried to teach my students what small-town Nebraska taught me: respect, compromise, service to country. And so when I went into government, that's what I carried with me. I worked with Republicans to pass an infrastructure bill, cut taxes for working families, signed paid leave into law. I codified abortion rights after Roe got overturned. Because I go to work for the common good. But enough about me. Let's talk about you. Because that's what this election is about. It's about your future. It's about your family. And Vice President Harris knows that. She too grew up in a middle-class family. She too goes to work every day, making sure families can not just get by, but get ahead. We believe in the promise of America, in those values I learned in Nebraska, and we're ready to fight for them. Because as Kamala Harris says, when we fight, we win.
Okay, wonderful. I hope that got you fired up and ready to go. At this time, the congressman has joined us, but as we get him onto the stage, we're going to do a quick agenda change, and we're going to go to one of our representatives from Harris Waltz with that intro. Mr. Scott, I can see that I'm about to call you. Please, please, please introduce yourself to the people. And let us get ready to go forward. On to you.
Thank you so much for introducing me. Everyone, thanks so much for joining the call tonight. My name is Christopher Scott. I have the pleasure of being the coalition's director to VP Harris. I have had that role since January. So as you can imagine, it has been quite the journey this year. But I am just blown away by the enthusiasm that I've seen over the past few weeks. When you talk about being able to unite, when you talk about being able to energize your base, you have seen that front and center with what VP Harris and now Governor Walz are bringing to the American people on the trail. But let's talk about why we're here tonight. We are here because we wanted to be very intentional when it came to coalition building. A lot of times when we have the conversation of Black engagement, too often I've seen in my career where the diaspora of the entire African, all the countries, constantly gets left behind, whether or not it's been in Houston, whether or not it's been in Ohio. It always takes intentionality to organize. But what I've come to see is that when you organize within the diaspora, there is so much power there in being able to get everybody united behind a candidate that is not new to the fight, but is true to the fight, that doesn't just provide lip service, but actually provides real work towards progress. And that's what VP Harris has done all along as vice president in the Biden administration. When we're talking about housing, the fact that the Biden-Harris administration has introduced more than 3 million new Black homeowners across the nation, offering $25,000 as a down payment if somebody is buying a home for the first time. That's transformational. When you talk about the closing a wealth gap that we know affects Black Americans more than anybody, the fact that it is the lowest that it has been in 20 years, that we have seen Black wealth go up by 60% since the Biden-Harris administration. That is VP Harris going to work. And then when we talk about actually intentionally engaging in U.S. and African relations, this administration has not shied away from that, but VP Harris in particular, in announcing the creation of the President's Advisory Council on African Diaspora Engagement, these are things that cannot be overlooked. And again, it requires a certain level of intentionality. And so first, I just want to thank the organizers of this, Neka, Semhar, Ajwa. Thank you so much for all the work that you all have already done, but all the work that I know everybody on this call, as well as the organizers before, are going to continue to do on this. One of the things that we are looking forward to doing with the Harris-Walz campaign is actually hosting a national organizing call early in September with the African diaspora to talk about what we have to get done now. I know a lot of you have had a chance to see the amazing convention. I had the opportunity to be there, and when I say I've never been so awestruck in the room, and that's even having worked on the Obama campaign previously, that room was simply electrifying, and you could feel it, and people are still buzzing. But if we do not channel all that momentum, all that energy into actual action and make sure that we get out the votes that we know that we need to turn out, then we are doing ourselves a disservice, because you can count on one thing. Our opposition is going to be ready to vote, no matter what. They have brought into the lie that Donald Trump continues to spew out, and they are ready and willing to do anything. And so we equally have to be willing and ready and willing to take our power and make sure that we take that to the ballot box. And I'll say one other thing on this. This is about building real partnership here. I know so often when we think about elections, we're used to campaigns just having the dialogue to get the votes, but not continuing on the partnership. And what I can say is VP Harris is firmly committed to being a continued partner, to continue to have the tough conversations that nobody wants to have, but to continue to make inroads in places that we have not made inroads before. And so I will leave it there and turn back over to the organizers. But I just want to thank you all so much again for having me on tonight. And actually, I'll leave you with this one more thing, and it's my story and why I support VP Harris so adamantly. Throughout my career, I've had a pleasure of witnessing the VP from 6 degrees of separation. But it was really 2019 when she took her first run for vice president that I got all in. During that time, I was the executive director for the Ohio Legislative Black Caucus, which is the nation's oldest legislative Black caucus. And I took time off on my vacation time to go campaign for VP Harris in South Carolina, because I believed in the messaging when you talk about for the people, a campaign and a candidate that wants to put the people first, that wants to invest in a middle class. As somebody that grew up in the Midwest, born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, that was a message that resonated with me. But what I can say is every day since I have had the pleasure of being her coalitions director this year, I get to witness a woman that is intentional, that is authentic, that takes the time when she goes in the room to actually look you in the eye when you're speaking to her. And when other Americans are speaking with her, she is somebody that you know is going to be a fighter with you. And as she always says, when we fight, we win. But that is exactly what we need you all to do over these next 70 or so days, is fight like hell so we can make sure that we win and build the nation that we know that we actually deserve.
Thank you for that, Chris. We're so excited to hear from you. And before we let you go, I want to share with everyone just how tremendously responsive this campaign has been to African Diaspora Harris and for other African diaspora organizations. We've been working on diaspora organizing, particularly African diaspora organizing, for years. We've been doing this, at least for myself and many of you on this call, since the Obama days. And we've learned after every presidential election cycle that campaigns are really seeing the importance of our constituency and showing up. And 2008 to 2024, what we see is a concerted effort by the Harris Walls campaign to make room and to keep the space wide enough for all of the African diasporas. We've seen this every election. There's a little bit of a different element. I can't tell you how inclusive this feels and how a space has truly been created for African diaspora voices to be in the tent with all of the other voters of all different demographics. And so I think it's a real testament. I think it also is worth sharing. Chris is not only a part of the campaign, but he is from the Vice President's office, and he is the Director for National Coalitions. And what this means is Vice President Harris already has a commitment to working in a coalition framework. And this is part of the business, part of the approach to the work that she, as a leader and as a public officer, sees is the need for coalition building. So we're really, really thankful to have you here with us, Chris. But we also want everyone on the call to see that coalitions aren't just done during elections. They are part and parcel of the work. after the election. And we know that Vice President Harris has already had a commitment to coalition work, and we look forward to seeing it continue in its future as the next administration. And so it's tremendous what you're doing, but having you here tonight. And I also want to acknowledge we have some of your colleagues who may also be joining us throughout the evening. And so if it's all right, we'd like to also invite them to speak and join. Chris, would that work?
Yeah, I think we have Trey Baker backstage. Trey Baker is senior advisor to the campaign, works closely with me on making sure that we are doing what we need to do when it comes to Black engagement on this campaign. And I'm going to say, because everybody else is so well put together, and I have a shirt, but it is bluey. My son had his first day of first grade. So, I'm having a mix between the work life and the dad life at the same time. Trey?
Thanks so much, Chris. And I just want to commend you, Chris, for the work that you're doing and the different responsibilities that you've taken on, especially the work that you're doing with the African diaspora for Harris Walls. It's phenomenal, and I look forward to continuing to work with you on this. I just want to say good evening to everybody. My name is Trey Baker. I am a senior advisor for the Harris Walls campaign. And I have worked in 2020. I was the National Black Engagement Director for the campaign and helped to organize so much of what we did for the African diaspora engagements back in 2020. And that's one thing that Simhar pointed out. This has been an ongoing effort. This has been a community that we have worked to try to make sure we bring together. And I want to just commend NECA, Simhar, and Adjua for the work that you've done. This is what's happening throughout the campaign. We have an abundance of enthusiasm and momentum and people who want to be a part of it. But we have to get everybody under one roof. And that's what the organizers have been able to do with African Diaspora for Harris Walls. We had a number of groups that were joining. Everybody was excited. Everybody wanted to raise money. Everybody wanted to organize. But we wanted to bring everybody together. And you guys have done that work, and I appreciate it so much. I won't add much to what Chris said. He did a wonderful job of talking through the campaign, talking about what's happening. But what we saw last week at the convention, what we saw since the very beginning of this iteration of the campaign, is that there is true enthusiasm for Kamala Harris. And the reason that there's true enthusiasm for Kamala Harris is because there's one thread in this campaign that's going to remain true, is that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are fighting for people like you, for people like me, for people like us. And Donald Trump is fighting for himself and for his wealthy friends. And that's the one thing that we want to carry through all of this. And so when you see the organic organization of Black women for Harris, Black men for Harris, you saw the white dudes for Harris, and now you see so many other groups that are bringing this message along, it's because we can see ourselves in this campaign. We can see ourselves in the future with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. And so that's how we're going to go forward. So I encourage everybody on this call to do a couple of things. Go to the links for African Diaspora for Harris Walls and find out how you can be involved. Go to KamalaHarris.com and then on KamalaHarris.com, you can get involved further within the campaign. You can help to raise money. You can help to do some organizing, phone bank, all sorts of things. And I would encourage you that even if you aren't in a battleground state, we're going to do a lot of talk about battleground states today. But if you're not in a battleground state, we still need your enthusiasm. We still need you to be there, calling into other states, visiting other states, your communities, your networks, go into these battleground states. And so the enthusiasm that you have, whether you're in Mississippi or you're in New York or you're in Rhode Island with my good friend Gabe Amo, or you're elsewhere, we're going to need that enthusiasm to push us all the way through this campaign. And so the work has started, and we're going to need every boot on the ground that we possibly can. And so I encourage you to tell a friend as these calls continue to happen. Don't let off the gas in terms of the enthusiasm and a bunch of people jumping on this call. There's going to be important information on these calls every single last time that you come on. And so with that said, I just want to encourage you to keep up the good fight. The campaign is going to bring you as much information as possible. African Diaspora for Harris Walls is going to organize on a number of fronts. So the constituency will be locked into not only the organizing for the campaign, but also some of the policy positions and working through that piece. And so we'll be integrated throughout. Again, this is a relationship that has gone over the course of time, and we've gotten to know folks who are leaders in the African diaspora over the course of time. And so what we want to do is we want to protect the progress that was made. Joe Biden did one of the most patriotic things ever and stepped back so that we all could go forward together in this new campaign. And so we're building off of American Rescue Plan and bipartisan infrastructure law, Inflation Reduction Act, student loan debt forgiveness, all of those things that Kamala Harris was the deciding vote on in the Senate. And so thank you so much for having us on. We look forward to a continued engagement here. And I look forward to sitting back and watching all the wonderful speakers that y'all have tonight. This is going to be a great call. So as Adjoa says, sit back, get your tea, or, if you're drinking something a little stronger, drink that too. And enjoy the call tonight. And I look forward to this continued conversation.
Thank you, Trey. It's really wonderful that you could make it. I know the convention has kept everyone so busy, and we intentionally made this right after the convention for that buzz. But we know that it's an extra lift for you all on the campaign side, coming from there and there and there. So we are going to, before we introduce our next speaker, I think it's also extremely important that in addition to African Diaspora for Harris, in addition for ADH's own mission and work, I think it's really important for people on this call to know who are some of the organizations that are members of ADH, because they're all doing the work every day. So in addition to ADH, we have groups like Africans for Harris. We have African Diaspora for Kamala Harris. We have New England Africans for Harris. We have Ghana Diaspora PAC. We have the Nigerian American PAC. We have Virginia African Diaspora Commission. We have African Diaspora for Good Governance. There are more groups joining us every day. We have Habeshas for Harris, which I have to give a plug to, who are also standing up now in support of Harris. So we know that there are many organizations either forming now or that have been in existence, and we want to recognize you and thank you. And the purpose of tonight's call is to showcase what you're all doing. Okay. So with that, I want to hand it over to Adjoa, to my colleague Adjoa, who will do the introductions, and then we will continue on. Okay.
Okay, so we're rocking and rolling here. We have a full agenda for you all today. In a short period of time, we'll be joined by Congressman Gabe Amo, the first Ghanaian Liberian elected to the United States Congress. And then after that, we'll be hearing from Ghana Diaspora PAC and Ms. Umuba from the African Diaspora for National Democratic Ethnic Coordinating Council. And then after that, we're going to go to our first battleground state of Virginia. So we're going to play a little bit of a video while we try to find Congressman Amo. And hold your horses, everybody. And we also want to make sure that you're continuing to post your shout outs and also how much you all are donating, because so far I don't think I've seen anyone say, oh, I donated my $5. Didn't I say that you needed to donate? I believe I said that. Okay. Now it's $10. Please post your comments in the section. Let us know that you've donated towards change, towards freedom, towards democracy. Yes, Semhar has put up the link again. We really want to make our mark tonight, so please put your donation in the chat. As you can see, I think I've been appointed the general of that's going to harass you all evening. Thank you, Kofi Adolfo of California, for donating. Thank you, Francis Wachuku, for donating $25. Wow. Okay, now you're starting. Now you guys are getting it. Now you guys are getting it. Okay, thank you, Mr. Taylor, for donating $25. Okay, thank you. Oh, wow. You guys are wonderful, wonderful. We're gonna, hey, Whitney. Whitney has decided to come and show. Okay, we're gonna put you on this thing. Aha, that's right. Whitney says 250. Match that. I love it. I love it. Okay. At this time, as we are waiting for Congressman Amo, I think what we're gonna do is jump right to our first battleground state. We're going to jump to Miss Philomena. Are you ready, Miss Philomena? Okay. Are you ready? We're going to unmute you.
Myself. Yes, I've unmuted myself.
Okay, Miss Philomena, can you talk about what's going on in Virginia and how we're getting mobilized?
Good evening, my fellow African diasporas and friends of Africa. I saw Whitney donating. Thank you, Whitney. Most people don't know Whitney is Africa. Africa is Whitney. His PhD was on Africa, specialty in Mozambique. Yeah, and during Clinton administration, he was Assistant Secretary for Africa. I've known Whitney for years and years. We have been on the trenches for a very long time. My name is Princess Philomena Desmond Ogugwa. I'm the chair of Virginia African Diaspora Committee and co-chair and co-founder of United Ethnic Women for Harris Walls. It's made up of all women from different ethnicity. We have Ukrainians, we have Serbians, we have Polish, we have Greece, we have everybody. Anyway, America is all ethnic. And our darling sister running is ethnic because her father is Caribbean, her mother is Indian. So that makes her super ethnic. I'm from the Commonwealth of Virginia, Prince William County. I don't know why they grouped Virginia as a battleground state because Virginia is blue. It has always been blue and is going to be blue. We are working hard to keep it blue. It's a very, very democratic state and is a very important state when it comes to Africans, especially African diaspora, because the first Africans that set foot in the United States was in Virginia. The first Black person, African, apart from the Native Americans, born in the United States was in Virginia, the Hampton area. If you go there, you see it where they said they got 20 odd men out from the ship from Angola. They were taken to Brazil. The pirates took them out and they settled in Virginia. And their descendants, the Tucker family, is known in Virginia. Virginia is a very important state in the Union. And I'm proud to say our darling Commonwealth of Virginia is the only state in the Union that has, as a law, recognized the work of African diaspora, including those that came by their own and those that were forced through ship, because we helped to build America. And one of the first laws Governor Glenn Youngkin signed was making African Diaspora Heritage Month a law in Virginia. And our senators in Congress and Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger in the Congress are trying to make it a national law. We have been organizing. In 2020, I was the co-national chair of African Diaspora for Biden Harris with Umuba. We organized throughout the state, throughout United States by Zoom, and it worked. And this time around, there are a lot of African diaspora groups. There might be up to 20 of them. Some have up to 5,000 people. There is African Diaspora Kamala Harris. Africans in the diaspora, there are a whole lot of them. And there is this ADH, which is African Diaspora Coalition. So we are all working, playing a ball towards the same goalpost to elect Kamala Harris, the next president of United States. We are working for joy. We are working for freedom. We are working for hope. We are not going back. We want to elect our own, because when a woman is there, irrespective of color, things do happen, because a woman has a nurturing effect. They know how to nurture. As they nurture their children, that's how they're going to nurture the country. They're going to heal, because the country has been apart. Now is the time of coming together, of bringing hope to the people, of bringing joy, freedom. There is no going back. Every one of us will evangelize freedom, joy, and hope. All of us will go out there knocking on doors, raising money for our different groups, so that we elect one of our own, a woman first, before we start talking whether it's ethnic, black or red. It's a woman first. So I'm inviting all women, black, white, red, brown, to come together under one name, woman, to elect our fellow woman, the next president of United States of America come November 5. Virginia is all taken. Virginia is all blue. Virginia is waltzing with Harris and Walz. We are waltzing blue, 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 blue all the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Philomena. You were just the right person to call. You know, you were just the right person to call. Just before we introduce the esteemed and the very patient, my Ghanaian brother, thank you so much, Congressman Gabe Amo, who made history as the first Black legislator to be elected in Rhode Island, and so was front and center back just now in Chicago, as we set forth on the path to make history again, electing Kamala Harris as the first Black female president and daughter of Black immigrants. Thank you so much for joining us, Congressman, and thank you so much for your patience.
No problem at all. And thank you, Adjoa, to all the organizers for your work in putting together this important event. And, I'll say something I say often where I am in Rhode Island. Yes, I am proud of who I am, proud of this call, proud of assembling the diaspora for the vice president. But we also know that she's not just running to put forth the presence of the diaspora in the office, is to put forth the impact, the difference, the change, and the accomplishments for all of the American people that is going to bring us a tremendous amount of pride. And so I'm honored to be the son of two West African immigrants, my dad from Ghana, my mom from Liberia. And they met all the way across the Atlantic Ocean in Rhode Island, of all places. And now I get to serve as the 60th member of the Congressional Black Caucus. And I guarantee if you were to bet where the 60th member of the Congressional Black Caucus would come from, no one would say Rhode Island. And that's where we start. We start by overcoming expectations. When I ran for my office over a year ago, they did not think I could win. And in so many ways, there are people with seeds of doubt that are planted that we have to overcome. Take all this enthusiasm. It's great. It's positive. We have to bottle it up, and we have to make sure that we work as hard as possible to elect Vice President Harris and Governor Walz to the presidency and vice presidency. I had the special privilege of getting to work in two White Houses. Most recently worked in the Biden White House before I ran for Congress, serving as the Deputy Director of Intergovernmental Affairs, where I saw firsthand the Vice President and her capabilities, her capacity to affect so many important issues, seeing her stand up to the task of addressing gun violence around this country, seeing her respond to real investments in Black small businesses, in Black home ownership, work that is affecting people across the diaspora in our country. I've also was so honored to see her travel to the land of my father, travel to Ghana to see that reception for her, showing that her abilities are global, are transformational, they are profound, and they are talents and abilities that are going to serve this country well when she is our next president. So I have the honor of being someone who gets to bring a lot of myself to this work, being a Ghanaian, being a Liberian. I shout out to all the Nigerians out there because you can claim me too sometimes. I am grateful for that. But what I am even more grateful for is our ability, when we put the work in this November, to elect Vice President Kamala Harris to the presidency. So here's the task. One is to show up. You did that tonight. That's the easy part. Part two is to talk to everybody in your life, battleground, non-battleground. Say, I heard my brother Trey talk about it earlier. We all need to be activated. Take nothing for granted. But yes, if you do have some friends in North Carolina, in Georgia, in Michigan, make sure that you reach out to all of them. Make sure that they are activated, ready to vote, that they've checked their voter registration, and that they not only show up by themselves, that they bring 5 people with them. I always say, take 5. Take 5 people with you. And the last part, we got your time, we got your talent, but we also need your treasure. Every single dollar matters. Now, you hear that a lot in politics, but this is when it's true. She has raised a historic amount of money, but just think about the forces that are working against her. Just think about the 45th president and what he is able to mobilize, trading his support for funds, for contribution. He said it in dark rooms. He said it in the background. He means it. When Maya Angelou said, believe people when they show you who they are the first time. So we need your time, your talent, your treasure. These are times where we have to go beyond hope. You know, the former First Lady, Michelle Obama, said that recently. She said, hope has got to come back. We have to go beyond hope. We have to do, as she said, do something. Everyone has a role. Everyone has a seat at the table. Our stories in the diaspora that drive us to our connection, that bring us together, those are stories of what I call hard work, grit, resilience, and determination to make our tomorrows better than today. Someone had that vision for us. Now we have to execute. So I hear you. I see you, my friends throughout the diaspora. Let's get to work. Let's keep going and let us elect this November Vice President Kamala Harris as our next president. Thank you so much for having me on, and I look forward to seeing all of you along the trail. Feel free to reach out if I can ever be helpful to any of you.
Thank you so much, Congressman Ayo Tometi, for that wonderful message. Hey, I felt like I was, in church or in the classroom. I didn't know which one, but I was ready to go. Thank you so much. Congressman Amo, please also support him. He's also on the ballot this election. We know he's going to win. We just know it anyway, but it doesn't matter. Go and support him as well. We support Democrats up and down the ballot right tonight. So please go support him. Thank you, Congressman. I know you're hitting the campaign trail on behalf of yourself and Kamala Harris. Thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Take care, everybody.
Okay, now I know you people are going to think that maybe we have a preference for Ghanaians. It's not true. It's just, maybe we're just on time this evening, or maybe we're early. I don't know. But right now we're going on the string of Ghanaians, and then we'll go to East Africa and we'll go to South Africa. We're going to hit everybody today. But I'm so happy that we have the wonderful, beautiful, gorgeous, articulate, talented, all these things, my Ghanaian sister, Bozoma here, Bozoma Saint John, to talk about what we need to do to get mobilized for Kamala Harris. Please take it away.
Well, hello, hello, hello. So good to be here. So good to see all of the conversation, the things that are happening in the chat. It feels like a very exciting time because, I love the fact that we mobilize for so much, including this very moment in time. I have had a very, what I would call focused message since the beginning of the Harris-Walz campaign, which has, of course, been about personal connection, personal mission. I think it's very easy for us to get, drowned in the conversation around policy and around things that are happening, of course, with government, et cetera. But honestly, it's like at the end of the day, what we're all trying to achieve is just a better experience for us, in living in the US. And of course, is how this affects the rest of the world as well. But I have made it a very personal conversation, which is that I am first generation American. I know what it feels like, to be in the US and to grow up in the US in a way that makes you feel othered. And although we have, bicultural leanings, of course, I don't deny being Ghanaian. Yay to the Ghanaians on the call. But there has certainly been a movement in this particular campaign. And of course, we felt it in Barack Obama's campaign as well, which is to make us feel as if we don't belong. And so if there's nothing else, it's the personal call to action is that in the effort to elect Kamala Harris to office, we are actually also elevating ourselves. I know that perhaps it's not the nice thing to say. It's not the thing that we should say out loud. But I do think it deserves to be said out loud. As a marketer by trade and by practice, I do understand that narratives are extraordinarily important to how we are seen in the world. And so for me, I think part of what we are doing, and I know that there are so many opinions, so many reasons why we should get involved, we should vote. But if nothing else, what I'm urging you is self-preservation. The fact that the conversations that are being had around this campaign, both aloud and behind the scenes, affect us, in ways that will be detrimental if we don't activate. Now, look, none of us actually of course, know the outcome of the election, but we have to put in the effort as a diaspora to ensure that what I would call, one of our own is also in office. I had the great privilege of joining Vice President Harris when she made her official visit to Ghana last March. And it was one of the moments of pride when I stood up and sang both the U.S. national anthem and also the Ghanaian national anthem. I have never been shy about proclaiming my dualness and taking, using that in all of the efforts that I have around my work and in my personal life and otherwise. And so the only message that I want to share as it relates to this campaign is that we need to make it personal. That this is not just a conversation where you can get caught up in the weeds about policy and what she's going to do for the greater good. Yes, that is all wonderful. And I'm sure many other people will, have lots to say about that. But I am urging us to look at this from a personal standpoint, that the way that she is seen is the way that we are all seen. And so if you are don't at all sit back, and pretend as if the conversations that are happening are not about us. So the only mission that I have right now is to ensure that the narratives that are being told about Vice President Harris as she campaigns for the White House is to make sure that we are being seen in the best light, because what happens to her happens to us, and let's not make any mistake about it. So thank you so much for the time and the opportunity to speak today.
Thank you so much, Bozoma. You said it all. And I think you said a lot of what we're all feeling, that we're feeling seen. And that is so important. Yes, there's a lot that could be done. There's a lot that you could ask for, demand for from this new administration, should they be elected. But the point is at least we will have a seat at the table to begin those conversations. Thank you so much for joining us from California. We'll be looking at forward to seeing you on our TV screen soon, and maybe continuing to carry the message. Thank you so much. Okay, and then we are so excited. You want to introduce the next guest, Samar?
Oh yeah, we're really excited about this one. So I have to invite you all to join me. Now, look, a few months ago, I was on a panel, and my daughter's here, so she's a part of this conversation. So we had a few months ago, we had a really invigorating discussion on African diaspora narratives and how we present ourselves. And I had the chance to share the floor with none other than musician, artist, Jidenna. And what I found with Jidenna was not only is he that musician who was giving that his style, his heart, and who he is in his music, but his mind and his spirit is truly tied to the Diasporic mission. And for those of you that don't know, Jidenna has also given his time to doing Pan-African organizing. He's an advocate for Pan-African agendas. He's always engaged in amplifying the African experience abroad as well as on the continent. And I think as a creative, he's always looking for ways to use his voice for good. So I want to invite Jidenna to join us and get my daughter to sit with me, if you don't mind. Jidenna, you there? How you doing?
I am here. Thank you so much. And say hi to your daughter for me. She seems like she has a lot to say on the subject. It's also a great honor to follow none other than my good friend, Madame Bozoma Saint John. We have done some work together over the years, and work together specifically revolving around what I think, and probably I won't speak for both of us, but I'm sure she would agree, what our job is as members of the diaspora. So thank you for the ADH for bringing us on. I do think that we both understand, and everybody probably here in the comment section understands, that we in the diaspora are here as bridge builders. We're here as paratroopers, as I like to say. We were dropped here to clear the ground for those that come beyond us. Our parents did that. And obviously, if you're first generation, second generation now, we know that this is our mission as well. With that said, I know everybody here is active online or privately or both, calling, making sure people at the barbecues know what's up and know that we hopefully, by the end of the year, we will be saying President Kamala Harris. I know that you are, but I think that one of the routes and strategies that's often underestimated is the role of continental Africans. We're here as members of the diaspora, but for those of you who remember when President Barack Obama was running for office, the continental Africans were just as loud, if not, sometimes even louder. Me as a Niger man, the Nigerians were very loud about how proud they were to see one of ours on stage. I would love if everybody here today would reach out to the people back home and tell them, make noise, make noise. This is about winning. And I'll tell you, for the first time in years, I feel like the Democratic Party is finally realizing what the Republican Party has realized for years. This is about winning. And winning in the modern day is making noise. As an artist, I know that we compete every day with anybody. A plumber who might make more noise than me as an artist now has lion's share of the public attention. So we have to make noise, and we cannot do it with just 42 million African Americans and the 2 million of the African diaspora that live inside the US, we absolutely need that 1.1 billion and rising on the continent to make noise. That means that you calling your cousins up, your cousins who may say, you know, we see them, I don't know about her policy. Take the time to explain that beyond policy, this is about, as Bozoma said, living a life that is a better life. I think our collective goal is to raise the standard of living for those of people of color around the world. We have to raise the standard of living, ensure them that this is the way forward. This will affect them. What the presidents do in the US affects people back home because, of course, we see that foreign policy directly affects our families. So get them involved, because if they're making noise on the internet, guess what? Maybe your friend who is from some country in Africa may not all the way be sold. But when they see their family members so proud to see Vice President Kamala Harris up on stage, when they see her and they see themselves in it, that continental African just might veer the diasporan to actually vote. And I think that is an underrepresented strategy. And that's one. You know, there's many issues like this. Issues that are close to my heart, like the maternal mortality rate, for example. We see silo conversations in on the continent. Then we see a conversation in New York, for example. Why are we not having this together? We can, we shall, we will, and it starts today. Because that's how we will change the standard of living for everybody that looks like us, that talks like us, that has the swag like us. And one of those people is Vice President Kamala Harris. She deserves to win. She deserves your attention. So call everybody back home and tell them simply to make noise. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We're going to the battleground state of Virginia. Thank you so much, though, Jidenna, for joining us this evening, for sharing your words. You got people hyped. They're talking about joy. They're talking about be loud. They're ready to go. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, and I hope that means you'll be back again for the next one. Is that right? Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, Miss Philomena, our auntie, please introduce our special delegate from Virginia, especially as we go talk about the battleground state.
Yes. First of all, let me greet my brother Jidenna. Kedu. He's an Igbo person like me. Comes from the southeast part of Nigeria.
Hey, madam.
Nigeria, know they carry last.
So. Never. Thank you. Nice to meet you. It's an honor and a privilege.
Yes. I am honored. I'm privileged to introduce my sister, a person I call my sister, my friend, my everything, my listening ear, who is loved in Virginia. Delegate Michelle Maldonado, representing the 20th district in Northern Virginia. And she ran for Congress to be our nominee. Unfortunately, she didn't make it, but the future is brighter for her. She is a former tech lawyer. She's a lawyer specializing in technology. And I have to thank her here with all our African diaspora brothers and sisters and our friends, lovers of Africa, for what you do for the African diaspora in the Virginia State Assembly. You made them to know that African diaspora do exist in the Virginia House of Assembly, and pushed for the passage of the African Diaspora Heritage Month to a law, to be one of the first laws signed by Glenn Youngkin when he became governor. Thank you, Michelle. Uh, she has she's part of a lot of good legislations that has been passed in the state assembly that affect people like you and I in education, insurance, workforce, name it. She is there advocating for the voiceless. That's why she is loved in Virginia. That's why we call her our own. And I'm proud to say also, she is a steering committee member of Virginia African Diaspora Committee from the onset. Thank you. Welcome, Michelle.
Delegate Maldonado, we're just flagging for you that we're having some audio issues.
Hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Oh,
Thank
okay.
you. Thank you.
I think I was having my own party over here because I'm so excited. But it's so good to see, to be with everybody tonight. And it's hard to come after everybody that's spoken because it is electric. It is alive. I think that everybody can feel the vibe that's happening tonight. And this is a really important gathering that's near and dear to me. My family hails from the African country of Cabo Verde, which is off the coast of Senegal, south of the Canaries, south of the Azores. And our folks came to this country through the port of New Bedford in New England. And I was the first Cape Verdean to serve in office in Virginia's history, the first woman and person of color to serve in the seat that I won. And I will tell you that in our area, we have such a rich and diverse community, whether it's folks from Ghana, from Nigeria, from Ethiopia, from so many places that we add to the swell of what's happening here. And the reason that's the case is because we know what's at stake. Kamala Harris knows what's at stake. Governor Walz knows what's at stake. We are protecting our democracy. We are protecting our planet. We are protecting our families, and we are protecting our future. So it is time for us to think about how we want to protect our healthcare, showing up with such power and grace. I don't know if that alarm is for me or if that's somebody else, but I hear an alarm. A couple of things I just want to say as we wrap up. Congressman Amos said, time, talent, and treasure. And what this means is that we are looking at all these things the way we contribute. But I asked the question, what does hope in action look like? Because we do need a qualified woman in this seat. And VP Harris is qualified, but we know being qualified isn't enough. And she brings hope and she brings poise and power and grace. So what does all that look like in action for all of us to support that? It does mean that we make those calls. We call people, we get people to join phone banks, we get people to donate, we get people to door knock, we get people to bring people with them, we get people to help arrange for people to early vote, we arrange and help people to get to the polls on election day. We know that if there is a moment in time where we can all come together, it is now. And let me just tell you that the bulk of Black voters in this country come from about 8 states. And these 8 states make up about 50% of all eligible Black voters in the 50 states and the District of Columbia. So we come together and we combine that with our other communities and our female voters that outnumber our male voters. Let me tell you, we can do this and we will do this because when we're together, when we fight, when we vote, we win.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Delegate Maldonado. And we love to see your leadership in Virginia, and we love to see everything you've done to recognize African diaspora communities in Virginia. We thank you for your time. We're going to hand it over now to Adjoa to introduce our next speaker. Thank you so much.
She said, when we fight, we win. I hope you hear that, everybody. Again, I'm so grateful that everyone is here tonight, and everyone is listening to this message and also taking it back to their homes. We talked about what's happening in Virginia, and I'm so excited to introduce my sister in this fight as well, Stephanie Arthur of the Ghana Diaspora Political Action Committee. Stephanie.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you so much, Ajwa, for this opportunity. Thank you to NECTA. Thank you to Semhar and the coalition. So as it was stated, my name is Stephanie Arthur, and I sit on the founding council of the Ghana Political Action Committee. I also do senior policy for the organization. So our PAC is the political arm of our parent organization, which is the Ghana Diaspora Public Affairs Collective. The goal of the PAC really is to, one, encourage more Ghanaian Americans to run for public office, as well as support candidates that champion the public interest and the policy interest of Ghanaian Americans here in the diaspora, as well as making sure that Ghanaian Americans are participating in the political process. Very much of what we're talking about today. And with 70 or so days left to the campaign, the Ghana PAC realized that GOTV efforts cannot start the weekend before Election Day. It has to start now. Really, it should have started yesterday, right? And so for us, we've identified a three-pronged approach to best maximize our voter engagement strategy. The first thing is that it's important for us with all this enthusiasm to be structured, right? And so using voter data is going to be important. So what we've decided to do is that we are cross-referencing battleground states where we also see Ghanaians that are densely populated, as well as where there's a low voter turnout. We are overlapping all of that information to find our target areas. The Ghana PAC is anchored in Washington, D.C. And so we recognize that with all of the work that needs to happen in the battleground states, it's going to be important for us to employ really the support and volunteerism of people who are also equally enthused and engaged in those battleground states by making them chapter presidents, ambassadors to help organize on the ground. Right. And so once you get that voter data information, what do you do with it then? Then you streamline that information so you know you have real targets that you have to go after, because we've got to make sure that we are measuring all of this work, all of this organizing to turn out to the ballot box. The second approach for us is also messaging. We've heard it through my sis Bozoma, Jidenna, Gabe. Messaging is very, very important, right? And so the campaign can do their best with creating messaging narratives that is going to touch all voters across the country. But as organizers, we in our community have the responsibility making sure that that message is tailored to our community. And so what do I mean when I say that? When we talk about immigration reform, that is such a big umbrella policy issue, right? And the narrative in the media has always been around the border. And while we are seeing Africans come through the border, that border message isn't as piercing or poignant as talking about equitable access to visas, or TPS, temporary protected status, or deferred deportation. Those are the messages that resonate. And so we've got to take that immigration reform conversation that the campaign is putting out there, that's in the media, and we need to tailor it down to our communities as it is relative. My sis Bozoma said, make it personal. That's personal. When someone in my family can't get a visa, when TPS there is about to expire, right? That is personal versus talking about the border. When we talk about healthcare access and equity, right? It isn't just about, seeing the doctor, but ensuring that there are translators on the ground that can speak the nuanced languages that are important for a mother to accurately communicate the issues that she is having with her child, her concerns, to that doctor so she can get really good care. As well as reproductive rights is on the ballot, right? An African woman going into a hospital who has agency over her body has to be able to effectively communicate to the doctor what her concerns are, right? And so we have a responsibility, again, to tailor that message as it is relative to our community, right? And so GHPAC realizes that African media is going to be important to this. We cannot do this alone. We have got to use the bloggers, the social media spaces, our videographers, whomever that in our community that creates messaging, and let that messaging go out and funnel out to our community. I'm on more WhatsApp groups than I can think of. This is where we congregate. This is our space, right? So the messaging has to be here equally. And the last piece of this is the organizing piece. Being able to really, really use the resources that are available to us and being innovative, right? The African electorate is such a unique demographic, right? We are a unique voting base. And so how we engage African voters has to be innovative, has to have some cultural competency. You know, we know as Africans, we respond best to familiarity. So when we are familiar with people, people can speak our language, talk to us in our native tongue, we respond differently, right? And so that is how we use our resources. And so one of the things that we realized in GHPAC is that one of the most untapped groups of people in the election process are people in our community who may be undocumented. So they may not be able to go to the polls and vote. It doesn't mean that they can't donate. It doesn't mean that they can't phone bank. It doesn't mean that they can't help organize. They're going to be the ones impacted by policy as well. We talk about this immigration conversation. They are impacted. They are paying taxes when they purchase goods. They are sending home remittances. They're getting healthcare services. Their children are going to school. They are equally impacted. So with all of this enthusiasm, they are a resource that we can also tap into. So look to our communities, whether they are documented or not, they are a part of this process. You know, Jidenna talks about engaging and kind of activating the people back home. In addition to that, activate the people here who may not be able to vote because they are equally a resource. And lastly, as I wrap up, I think it's going to be important for us, you know, to utilize voter engagement organizations on the ground. We need to be working in lockstep with organizations that may have the infrastructure to help us really organize and turn people out to the polls. They're going to have the ability to cut turf. They're going to have the ability to kind of supervise our volunteers, supervise our community, in addition to our ambassadors and our chapter presidents. No stone should be left unturned. I think everybody's hands have to be involved, and we have to be very creative in the way that we turn out voters. The last final thing that I would say is this. My auntie Philomena talked about the story about Virginia and Golan's being the first to be on the ground in Virginia. The African story is the American story, right? Several years ago, we celebrated 400 years of Jamestown to Jamestown, Jamestown, Accra to Jamestown in Virginia. We are connected to this country. The policy issues are important to us. The American story is also the African story, and we're going to win this for the Harris and Walz campaign. We just have to do it very structured with good strategy, and we have to do it all together. So thank you for your time, and I want to pass it to my good sis that I worked with in the 2020 Biden Africans for Biden campaign, Amu Ba. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. You dropped some knowledge, some insights. Thank you so much. My name is Umuba. I want to thank the organizers, Ajwa, for inviting me, NECA, and Semar. I am of Guinean descent. I represent the African diaspora at the Ethnic Council at the DNC. So I work with many African organizations around the country. I have a 50-state strategy where I coordinate and to mobilize Africans in different initiative and activities, and even during off elections, to educate Africans communities on voter education, voter engagement, civic engagement, all those 9 yards. So my call to action to all these African led organizations, faith organizations, African leaders, whether you are in the battleground states or you are in non-battleground states, we want to mobilize. We want to make sure that Africans are more engaged during this election than ever. The stakes are extremely high. We have to exercise our voice. We have to exercise our civic duty. If you are a eligible voter, make sure that you check your voter registration. Make sure that you are ready to vote. Make sure that you are making your family members vote, your friends, your neighbors, and just make sure that if you live in New York, like I just mentioned, if you live in the non-battleground states, we need people in the battleground states. Call your friends. You can do virtual phone bank. You can even travel to those battleground states because they need help to galvanize, activate our community, because it's very, very important. I don't like to focus on the other side of the party, because I want to make sure that we are joyful. We are focusing more on the on VP Kamala Harris and her running mate. She is very qualified. She is fighting for us. She is making sure that people who are marginalized, community that are voiceless, are being heard, are being brought to the folder, to the center of the conversation. And as she mentioned many times, when we fight, we win. When we come together, we win. And this time around, we just don't want to win. We want to win big. We want to make sure that all these states, including the battleground states, are won big time with a huge margin, because we don't want to give any choice to the other side to even have an idea of challenging the votes. We want to make sure that we make history. We making history in electing VP Kamala Harris and her running mate, but we want to make it big this time. So I'm urging all these organizations to come under this umbrella. I'm calling the African-led organization, whether you are in New York or in Georgia or in Minnesota, please, let's coalesce. Let's bring our voices together so that we can have a huge impact around this election cycle. So I'm not going to take long. I know there are amazing speakers that are waiting for their time. So I want to thank every single person who turned in today to listen to us. So my call to action for all of you is to mobilize, bring your voices together to make sure that we win big time around this cycle. And I want to see more French-speaking organizations and African leaders under this umbrella. So thank you so much for having me, and I'm looking forward to great things for the next few weeks.
We agree with you. Invite more. Francophone brothers and sisters, please join the party. I see you're in the chat. Next time let's make sure you're on the stage. At this point in time, I know you have to go on your shift. We want to make sure we're hearing from our hardworking Africans that we're talking about protecting with this next administration. So, Auntie Elizabeth, thank you so much. Nurses for Harris, I love it. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Ajua, it's a pleasure for me to be here. Can you hear me? I'm about to go to work.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, okay. I have been a Democrat since 1992, since Clinton's time. I have been always campaigning, both at work, and I know Kamala Harris and Walz will take us for the continuation of the American dream. I'm so encouraged to be in this platform. I've seen the strategies. Let's keep encouraging each other. Together, we win. Together, we win. I have been able to educate as a registered state board of Maryland geriatric nurse. I've educated 4 great children because of the American dream. I have a financial analyst who works at Wall Street. I have an accountant who works for US government. I have another financial controller who works for another big institution in the United States. And I have a businessman who runs his own company, all because of the American dream. As a nurse, I've been able to do it. So together, we win. Let's all continue to vote for Kamala and Walz 2024. Let's go out and vote in numbers. Call people, knock on doors. Together we win. Thank you for inviting me. I got to go to work. Thank you so much. We are all fired up for Kamala.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. You're welcome. You're
Stopping
welcome.
by with your shift. We want to make sure we hear your voice tonight. And really talking about that American dream we've been talking about all night. Love you. And I love your shirt. Everyone should see that cloth. I
Can
believe
you
that has
see?
Kamala
I have
Harris.
Harris and Biden. It was, and this one, I was wearing it in Florida. I used to live in Florida, but I'm back in Maryland. And I'm still encouraging people to vote.
Yes.
Go out and vote. Knock on doors, get people to join us. Together we win. That's my team for Kamala Harris.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And now we're going to go to the battleground state of Georgia. You know, you guys had a big showing at the convention. It was turned down for what? So now I'm going to be your Lil John.
There you go.
Um,
Hey, how you doing?
so good. Introducing to all of you who don't know him. I don't know how you don't know him, because not only is he such a strong advocate in Georgia for Georgians, but he's a strong advocate for Africans in the diaspora, long in this game of organizing before he became an elected official. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Representative Shegun Adinya. Please take it away.
Representative Adena. So thank you very much for the invitation tonight. I'd like to commend you and all the efforts that are buzzing around Kamala for president. I just can't say enough. But let me start, because a lot of us have talked about tonight the reasons why we need to vote. But we need to look at the person that we're voting for. If you look at her history, she started representing a county as a DA, and then she also got elected the next level up as the AG for the state, and then she went on to Senate on the federal level, representing the state of California, and then she was elected on the ticket of Biden Harris, and that should tell you much about the person that she is. not even looking at her gender, she is an electable candidate because she has delivered for her constituents time and time over again. And in that process, she has um, a variety of experiences to understand the challenges that we deal with at different times and different stages throughout her experience. And she has really, truly applied herself. So when I look at past presidents, I look at their record, their electability, and their delivery. And she has proven that. And I do know that she is the woman for the job. And I stress woman because this is the first time that we're going to elect a woman to be the first president who happens to be Black, based on her qualifications, based on the work that she has done in our community. And there's no reason why we won't get behind her. Now, I speak because I've had the experience of being one of 5 Nigerians elected to the state of Georgia in 2022, the first Africans elected. And during that time, it was really exciting because our people paid attention. Our people understood what it meant to vote. Our people came out in numbers, understanding that representation matters. And it truly does, because when you're in office, you tend to see how the bills hit your community. I know people talk about immigration. Immigration continues to be a problem in our community. And not everyone looks at immigration being a Black issue. And that's why it's important that we lend our voice and our voices in whatever representation you have in your community. And we always have to speak up. As everyone knows, Georgia is a battleground state. In the last election, 11,000 votes decided Biden's position, and it was always challenged. But we know the outcome was the right outcome. And more importantly, it also shows us that it takes only a few of us to deliver on the votes in our battleground states. So we as African diaspora need to stand up and make sure that we're counted in this election. And it doesn't really take a lot. It takes all of us as a village to participate, for making sure you're registered to vote, for making sure that you understand your polling location. One challenge we have in Georgia right now today, the election oversight committee, which was created due to the Secretary of State calling the election for Biden. So now they have a commission over that will certify the elections. They just recently passed some rules on this upcoming election, and we're challenging that right now to the governor and the AG to address that. So the other thing we have to know, as the elections are ongoing, we have to understand the rules of the game. And in the states that we're being challenged and check, I ask everyone in Georgia to also get online and check that they're registered. The other thing that was also introduced was the ability to remove people from a website from the records, the voting records. So everyone in Georgia needs to go on and check regularly to make sure that their name has not been removed. And all they need to know is your information, your birth date, your first and last name, and the county you live in, and someone else can remove your name. So it's very critical that we have a game plan, and our game plan is not just outreach, but also in your community, knowing what's going on. So the battle line is drawn. If you're in a battleground state, we have to be on alert. I know we have several people from Georgia that are going to speak and talk about some of the strategy that we have implemented in the last 3 elections as a community. And that's something that we need to do. So let's get out the vote. We fight and we win.
That's right. Thank you so much, Representative Shegun. What's so exciting about your leadership and what other Georgia delegates are doing is for those African diaspora communities that, many of us, we know Georgia. We have family in Georgia. I'm a member of the Eritrean diaspora community, and Eritreans are deep in Georgia. And we know that having your representation in local state office is so key. And what Georgian delegates are also showing us is how state movements can shift a national election, and not only as a swing state, but even unexpected. Just a few years ago, Georgia was a red state. And so our votes in battleground states like Georgia matter more than ever. So we want to thank you again, and we're going to invite your colleague, Representative Solomon, who's also a delegate for Georgia. And we'd love to hear words from you, sir, and then we'll add your other colleagues as they come in.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. It is an honor to be here. I, like all of you, I am fired up and excited. But first, I want to thank the African Diaspora for Harris Committee for putting this together and for inviting us to share the platform with you all. Hey, look, it is our time. It really is. If you look at the last 4 presidential election cycle, we've had a black person, and when we have a black person on the ticket, we win. In 2008, Barack Obama did it. 2012, we had Obama did it again. Now, 2016, the reason why it didn't happen, because I would tell you, we didn't have any black person on the Democratic ticket. So if we had a black person, the ball game would be different, and the narrative, the story would be different. In 2020, Biden was smart to put Harris on the ticket. And guess what? We won. And now in 2024, we're about to do it again. So it is our time. But I recognize that it's going to take a collective effort to do that. We have to rally all of our base, our community. We have to organize. We have to fight like hell. Like Tim Walz always say, it's going to take us to fight like hell to get this done. And I know it's within reach. Like Shega mentioned, 2 years ago, we made history. 5 Nigerian Americans ran here in the state of Georgia, and we won. But we didn't win by our effort alone. It took a lot of our communities. It took everyone, the African diaspora, the African American, every black vote mattered. And that's what's going to take for Vice President Kamala Harris to get to the White House. Look, that lady, she is very articulate, very smart, very qualified. I mean, think about it. She has all of the credentials and the ability to do it. And we're going to get it done. But it's going to take all of us, and it's going to take a lot of work to get that done. But we've done it before. We've been here before. We've done it, and we're going to do it again. So please tell your friends, your neighbors, each one, reach one. And that's how we're going to do it. Rally your base, rally your supporters, tell your friends, your churches, get everyone out to vote. Like Shega mentioned, it's going to really, really take people to also know that they are registered to vote. Because in Georgia, we've been fighting that for 4 years now. People's voting precincts abruptly changes. They're doing everything in Georgia to limit people's ability to get out and vote. And it's the narrative. We have to let people be informed. But I have been on the ground doing the work for Harris and Walz campaign. I am excited. It really is our time. And through this collective effort, we will get it done. So thank you for your time. And we'll keep doing it and making history.
That's right. We're doing it. And we're doing it in more ways than having, in addition to elected officials like yourself, like Representative Shegun and so many others who are joining us tonight. We're also doing it through community leadership, through organizations that have been existing to amplify African diaspora civic voices and to get us heard. And one of those is a group called One Voice Africa. And for those of you that don't know, One Voice Africa has presence in Georgia, but it's national. And we've got our representative, Hadi Kalubi from One Voice Africa. Please share what your organization is about and what's happening in Georgia and how we can support you from wherever we are to help get the vote out.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. My name is Hadijalo Coulibaly. I live in Atlanta by way of Gambia. I like to call myself an American-born Gambian. I represent One Voice Africa here in the Atlanta metropolitan area. And as you guys can see, I've been led by our Representative Jidenna, and Representative Solomon that just spoke. So like Ajoa had said, we hyped up the convention and we'll hype up here. Ain't no playing GA. When we step out, we say we're going to do it, we're going to do it. And we put our representative, our Nigerian American representative in office. It showed our movement, but that movement came with all of their help to put us together. So just to touch a little bit on that, we are One Voice Africa. We started off here in Georgia. We have a network that came together during the Ossoff Warnock runoff, and we came under one roof, hence the name One Voice Africa. It is a coalition, a cooperative of different African community leaders within the Atlanta metro area. Started off maybe about 16 African community leaders, and now we're up to about 30 and counting. And that includes different leaders of the countries represented within their communities, also business owners, students, youth activists, everyone that gets out in the community to get it together. And I know I've seen different people that are recognized that have joined our platform in different moments where we've advocated and gotten together to get out the vote. We were really pushed to get out the vote when we realized that there were a lot of us that were trying to advocate and we didn't really have one platform to push and get out the vote. Jidenna had mentioned that we need to make noise. So we realized that that noise could be made if we came together and plan it together. And that's how we came along to make that. And I believe Stephanie was the one to mention that even if you're undocumented, you can actually contribute towards elections. In my opinion, and that of my coalition, we all believe that elections have consequences. And we believe in pushing the agenda that we believe would help our communities that we live in and continue to push it for their benefit. The Harris-Walz ticket is very important to our community. It's a continuation of good policies that we've seen that people are trying to kill, and we're making sure that that doesn't happen within our community. I happen to be a direct worker under some of the great policies that the Biden administration had put in place, especially the Inflation Reduction Act policies that came in. Some of it we're using under a consulting company that I work in, revitalizing low-income communities in South Georgia. That is continuing to happen. A lot of these homes are benefiting from these policies that they've put in place. And the last thing we want is to see a new administration to come and take it away from those people. So let's get out, rally around and get out the vote and make sure it happens. Representative Segun Adeyina had mentioned that you can check your status because everything is being done to suppress your vote, especially in a battleground state like Georgia. We want to make sure that you know, go to the I believe it's just to piggyback on what he says is the sos.mbp page where you can check your status, make sure you're ready to vote. So I wanted to thank you guys for putting together this platform. I want to thank you guys for bringing us all together and all the communities here. And I know my sister just mentioned that she's in the Eritrean community. We have coalition with them and they're part of our group and they have a huge number that comes together to get us all out to vote. And I thank you all for pushing this agenda. Hopefully we'll get to see each other again and be able to push this further and get everyone involved and get Harris and Walz in office. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hattie. Yes, and we know that some of our own Eritrean people are on the call. Very proud to see you. Very happy to see all of you. I see my friend Jonas, who's gave a chat, but shout out where you're from. Wherever you live, wherever your family is from, wherever you're from, pop it in the chat. We need to show the representation. So happy to have you and wonderful to have you here. So we have one more speaker from Georgia, and then there's other delegates also coming from Georgia. We're going to give it to Idafe from NAPAC, and then we're going to give it to our next speaker just right after that. Idafe, are you there?
Can you hear me?
There you are. We can see you. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that. So thank you very much. My name is Idafe Soje. I'm the chairman of NAPAC Georgia. I'm just going to say the mission of NAPAC. Then I'm going to also talk about the fact that how we're involved with One Voice also. I'm one of the co-leaders with Hattie. So Hattie, thank you very much for explaining, talking about One Voice. NAPAC mission is to educate, empower, and engage Nigerian Americans to influence policies affecting education, immigration, social justice, healthcare, economics in the United States of America. I want to start off by saying thank you to the organizers of this call. That's number one. Number two, I wanted to take us back when Adra said Ghanaians. I want us to say Nigerians, because there are 4 African Nigerians in Georgia, and we did deliver America the last election. So that's just to get that out there. So thank you very much. I'm one of the leaders for One Voice with Hattie, and I'm not going to go back and say what she has said. All I want to emboss is that, number one, we need to get out and call all family members in Georgia to talk to them to get out and vote. I have some events coming up that I'm going to announce. We have the Ethiopian Day coming up September 15th, so we need a lot of people to come out there. There's almost about 3,000-4,000 people coming out at that time during that event. Then we also have the voters registration drive, which NAPAC is driving also. And we also have a young adult, NAPAC young adult event coming October 12th. So with all these events we're putting together, we're trying to get more and more individuals involved and to try and get this Harris and Watts ticket voted into office. Okay, I want to say in Georgia, according to my Liverpool team, we never walk alone, and that's what we've done in Georgia. And that's bringing all the communities together and let them know that we never walk alone, and we will not walk alone, because we need to hold each other's hands and we need to make sure we get out and make sure we vote. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much, Adafe. You know, there's so much about your work. Remember, you can learn about all these organizations through our website. We want you to go to africandiasporaforharris.com. You can click on all of these organizations and learn more about their work. You can find out how to get activated today. And, you know, you may not think that you are affected by this election, but when we know what happened with Georgia, what happened in the last election, we know that how critical every vote counts, but also how many of us either didn't show up or weren't able to vote because of complicated laws. And we want to make sure that voters are educated, are informed, and are ready to get to the ballot box. So thank you, Adafe. Thank you, Hattie, for everything you guys are doing. And we support you wherever we are. Okay. Now, you know, we've given a lot of time to people that are in states focused on their movements, community leaders that are having challenges that they were trying to resolve locally. But there are also leaders who have taken their experiences from a local to a federal level. And with us, I want to invite our good brother, Will Jawando, Councilman Will Jawando from Montgomery County. A pleasure to have you, but also given your experience working in public office from federal to local, we want to hear your thoughts on what does it mean to get engaged and what do we need to do to get Kamala into office. Will?
Thank you, Simhar, and thank you to my sisters who have organized this and just the larger effort. It's so exciting to see so many that have been in the struggle for representation for members of the African diaspora here. I've been looking in the chat, I've been participating. It's just really exciting. So good to see you all. I'm fresh off of the convention, like I know other people on this call were. I was a delegate to the convention from Maryland. To my Georgia folks, Lil John turned it up. We had a great time. And we had great seats in Maryland as well. And our Governor Westmore and I was there, and others we were representing as well. I want to just remind you, I think it was said a little bit earlier, but I want to put a fine point on it. Kamala Harris, you know, I worked in the White House of President Barack Obama, the first Black president, the first president from the African diaspora. He was the first, and I say first because there was immense pressure with that. If you watch the speeches of Michelle Obama and even President Obama at the convention, they spoke with a freedom that you didn't necessarily see during the presidency. Kamala comes in fully aware of that history, but also able and benefiting from it to be able to be even bolder, you know, with her policy agenda, with how she's approaching prosecuting the case against Donald Trump, who, as I don't have to remind this group, one of his first acts in office was to ban travel to many of our home countries where our family and friends and parents and where we've lived, many of us. And she went to Howard University, who for many years taught Yoruba as a language, right? You know, being a Niger man myself, and I got a rep, there's a lot of Ghanaians, so we had to get these Nigerians going. So I'm glad we've had a little run here. She understands in a deep, deep way the connection of American policy to foreign policy across the country, and particularly in Africa. My sister Bose talked about the trip to Ghana. She pushed for that trip, right? You know, not everyone in the White House wanted to do that at that time. I'll just tell you that. And she pushed to make it happen. that trip. She understands our community. And not only that, we're at an existential moment where everything we fought for, the reason we immigrated here, the reason our parents or grandparents immigrated here is for a better life, for better education. All of that is on the line with what's going on, with what Trump's trying to push, a divisive agenda. And so it's not just the right thing to do, but we also have a candidate who understands this in a deeply personal way and who has more freedom, thanks to what's been done before, to push a bold, progressive agenda that will benefit disproportionately the African diaspora. It's sure. And we know when you help the African diaspora, when you help Black people, when you help people of color, it lifts all boats and everyone succeeds in this diverse, multiracial, multi-ethnic society. And so we have to do our part, though. As Michelle Obama said, we have to do something. We can't just say, oh, we got a good bump in ratings from the convention. Jidenna mentioned this too. You have to call everyone you know back home, get on those WhatsApps and here in the US, and make sure everyone you know, minimum of 10 people, have a voting plan, have donated, are involved in some sort of grassroots advocacy. In the other room, my mother-in-law, who's 68, recovering from breast cancer, is making calls to Georgia tonight, right? That's the kind of thing we need from everybody. So you got just over 70 days left. What are you going to do? It's not enough to just get on this call. We're here to encourage you. You heard from people from the campaign. We are here at African Diaspora for Harris Walls to give you the tools, but you have to do something every day. And so that's what I would say, because the continent is on the line. Our life here at home is on the line. And Kamala will be a bold president for us, but we have to make sure she gets in there. And as loud as we are now, the last thing I'll say, that will help her govern, and that will help inform her policies. And this is a long-term relationship and advocacy tool and network that we're building. But first, let's get her in there. So I'm excited and just really want to thank Simhar and group again. And let's get this done.
Love it. Love it, Will. Thank you so much. And thank you for everything you're doing to serve the community in Montgomery County, Maryland, United States, African diasporas. Bringing it home. We're so happy to have you. Thank you. So, sometimes we think of leadership or getting involved. It can be volunteering, it can be running for office, or it can be an idea that you have to create a space that you wish existed, as I always say, and make your voices heard. And our next speaker is someone who has not only done that, but has made an impact globally in making sure that Black lives matter. And that person, there are a few people behind BLM, but how many of you knew or know that one of the co-founders of BLM is a very own member of the African diaspora, Nigerian-American sister, Ayo Tometi? My girl, you are one of the many examples of what people can do here with their time, talent, and treasure, and really mobilize people to see themselves. And when we ask ourselves, what do I do? It's examples like this that really ignite me, but it ignites so many people around the world, Black, white, humanitarian, just anyone who's focused on what is right and what is just. And so we're really honored to have you, but we also wanted to take this moment to invite you to share, why should African diasporas get involved in the election? Why should we show up? And what does it mean to show up for you?
Well, thank you so much. I'm so grateful to join you and to join everybody on this call. Saw so many friends, family, my brother Will. So great to see you all and hear just so much wisdom, so much collective wisdom here. I'm so grateful to be here. And I know we're running a little behind. We're African. It's African time. It's okay, though. We're here for this. And I just have to say that it is such a beautiful time to be alive, and to be aware of our agency, and to be aware of our power as a collective. And as you said, Samar, yes, some people know me as a co-creator of Black Lives Matter. Some might know me because I was the first woman to be the executive director of the Black Alliance for Just Immigration, working on immigrant rights with African, Caribbean, and Afro-Latino communities, as well as with African Americans who know that immigrant justice is part of the larger struggle for racial justice nationwide. And, while it was my honor to do that work and to hold those titles, it's my truth that the most important part of my identity is that of being a woman of deep faith, first and foremost. And that is my identity as a daughter of Nigerian immigrants, as you said. And that Naija pride is very much so there, but it's also an overall African pride, a pride in us, a pride in our people, and a real strong sense of our belonging and our power. And I just want to share with you, just a few nights ago, I was talking with my mom. We had just heard the Vice President Harris's speech at DNC. And I was on the phone with my mom for about an hour, and she was raving, just raving with excitement about her confidence in the VP's leadership and hope for her becoming president. And this conversation just reminded me that not only my mom or my aunts, but we have so many sisters, brothers, people who were our first champions, people who sacrificed, people who advocated for us for so long, and they see themselves in Vice President Harris. They see themselves in her immigrant roots. They see themselves, and we see ourselves as people who are maybe first generation, second generation, third generation. And we know the complexity of our family units, but we also know our strengths, and we know intimately our needs. And with all of that, I just want to acknowledge the fact that we have been building. I mean, the reason we're having this call tonight is because we've been building. We have our hometown associations, we have our prayer groups, we have our group chats on WhatsApp and so on. And we've been organizing for a number of things over the years. And now is the time to leverage our networks to ensure that we get out the vote, that we show up to the polls, that we advocate for ourselves to make our voices known, and to vote for our values and vote for our lives, quite literally. This is a very, very important and historic election, but we are truly well poised to flex our vote. So many of us have now become citizens over the years, right? So many of us have fought tirelessly to have our voices and needs met. And this is the time that it really counts. And our numbers are growing strong. And those numbers are not only in votes, but they're also in dollars. And so I encourage us to do all that we can for this moment in history. We can't allow a serial predator, a convicted fraudster, a man with a morally bankrupt value system to win office. So many of us have already been survivors of violent dictatorships. Many of our family members may not have even survived, right? And so we know we've had enough. We know it's our time to step up. And I'm just so proud of this gathering. I'm proud to stand with the African Diaspora for Harris Coalition. And just want to echo the voice and the words of Vice President Harris, who said, "We are not going back." And I'd want to add the words of Kwame Nkrumah and say, "Forward ever, backward never." Our voices matter. Our vote matters. Let us be sure to make it to the polls on November 5th. And thanks so much for inviting me to join you all tonight. Thanks, Samhar.
Thank you, Ayo. I know there's so much more you could say, but that's beautiful. That's exactly what we want to hear, what we need to hear, and we'll continue doing the good work and the good fight with you. All right, so we have our next guest is another powerful voice, also into the storytelling space, into the advocacy space. I want to introduce our good brother Segun from the Boston Globe, based out of Massachusetts, a state which is, of course, largely Democrat. But we think it's important to remember and remind all of you, even if you're in a state that votes blue, right, that you think your vote doesn't count, there's so much you can do from where you are. And we want to hear, what does it mean for an African diaspora member to get involved? Why should we? Segun, go on ahead.
Samar, thank you so much first for having me. I know she's on the call. I want to say thank you to Yvette Noel Shore. She, our mutual friend and a powerhouse from Grenada, is part and parcel why I am here as well. Also, shout out to my sister Fumi Odulowu, who always supports. And what I want to say with passion is that we are the American dream, right? I am as chocolatey as they come, and I am the face of the Boston Globe. I host a TV show, Boston Globe Today, in a city that hasn't always been friendly to people of my complexion, of our complexion, and that I get to light my own torch and have my name my father's name on television every day means that not only am I living the American dream, but I'm living the dream that someone else had for me, and I owe them an obligation. The French would say, noblesse oblige, with obligation, with nobility comes obligation. Most of us sitting on this call tonight are first generation of the diaspora. And it was because other people struggled that we have the privilege to sit here now and go to the polls November 5th and do what this country has always done, a Black woman to lead us. Look at the call that we're on right now. It was organized, set up, and run by strong Black women. I am married to one. My mother is one. My sister, I already mentioned, Semar. I have to follow Ayo. Okay, Nigeriano, they carry last, so I'm not mad following a superstar from the BLM movement. But we think about it. I know everyone has talked with such grace and composure about policy and things that we need to do and things that we should do. But what I implore all of you on this call is to understand that we belong, that this dream of America, this experiment that America is, they'll tell you that America has been a democracy for 400 years, but it wasn't up until about 50 or 60 years ago that Black people were even allowed to vote, right? And us here on this call that come from those shithole countries that the man who's running against Kamala Harris says don't belong here, we have a chance to put someone in office who looks like us, has ties to us, and it's up to us to make sure that that happens. So with passion, with pride, I'm telling you that if you are sitting in those rooms where people are saying, I like authority. Our parents escaped countries that had dictators running it. I'll be damned if I'm going to elect someone to an office that my parents chose to give me a better life by leading that type of government. We can't be the ones, we can't be the generation to let what our parents strived for and fought for fall or fail because we are dealing with a three-party system, right? The Democratic side, the Republican side, and the couch. And when you let apathy into what you are thinking, the couch always wins. You've heard celebrities and talented people like Jidenna, shout out to my brother, A Chief Don't Run, one of my favorite songs. I steal it all the time. I put it on Instagram, but he knows what's up. We have this obligation, right? It was Black women in Georgia that by 11,000 votes that put Biden and Harris into office. So it's the slimmest of margins, and we represent something special. We are something special. That's what I want us to remember. We are something special, right? The life that our parents strive to give to us, those of us who have children, we have to make sure that our kids have better than us. And if you look around, you're not quite sure if what mommy and daddy provided for us is better than what we're going to be able to provide for our children. But it starts at the polls. It starts when you get off the couch and you vote. It starts that when you go into those rooms and you tell those people that look like you, who can pronounce your name with all of the vowels, that this is the choice that you have to make. Not because you're not sure of her track record. Maybe it's because you know the other guy's track record. How about that? How about telling people who say, "Oh, well, he's good. He can run the country. He can run a business." Would you let him run yours? Because he's run a lot of them into bankruptcy, and I don't know how you bankrupt a casino. So that's a long way of saying that when I step in front of a camera and that red light goes on, I believe that it's not just me who's talking. I'm talking for the people that believed in me, all of those wonderful Black angels that made it possible for me to be here. And so we, again, have that obligation to carry on that message. That's what Africa is. That's that old African proverb. If you want to go somewhere fast, go alone. But if you want to go somewhere fast, go together. All of us have come here together, not just on this call, but in this country, to make a better life for the people that look like us, talk like us, eat like us. And it's always been a woman. Huh? Who makes the best fufu? Who makes the best eba, amala, the best jollof rice? Not Ghanaians. It's Nigerians. I don't want to stress that enough. It's always been Nigerian jollof. All jokes aside, November 5th, when you go to those polls, make the right decision for not just you, but the people who fought so hard for you to have that opportunity to be in a call like this, to be in this country, to make that choice and put this woman in office. I'm Segun Oduolowu. It is a pleasure. It is a privilege. Thank you to the Diaspora Coalition for Harris Waltz for having me on this call, for allowing me to participate. And again, I think the choice is simple. And again, Black women all day long. I stand beside you. I stand with you. I'm married to one, so God bless you. Keep it going.
So, my brother, you didn't know a Ghanaian was going to follow you, eh? You thought you can talk that talk and then you won't say anything. Hey, people, where are you in the chat? In fact, it's time for you to fundraise. If you put your money where your mouth is. We're talking about Niger Jollof, Ghana Jollof, Senegalese Jollof. Rather, let's talk about Ghana donation, Nigerian donation, Senegalese donation. Please. Okay, we said $5, $10, $25. Whitney came and shamed us all and said 250. Come in, at least put $50.
Give money. Give money. Give money. Because this is what was said that I think we need to tweak a little bit. People have said we need to have a seat at the table. Let me tell you what happens if you don't. If you don't have a seat at the table, you're on the menu. And we've seen that happen to Africa too many times, where we didn't have a seat at the table and people carved us up and told us what we were going to do or how we had to do it. Now we have a chance to dictate back to people. Our vote counts. So it's not just to have a seat at the table. It's to make sure that we're not on the menu, and that the menu we choose, I'm tired of the complaints. Brother, it's too much work. I have too much to do. If the goal was to eat, don't ever complain there's too much food on your plate, because that's what I came to do. I want chop. I didn't come to live hungry. So if I want chop, I never complain there's too much food on my plate. That's the same thing. If mommy can do it, if daddy could do it before FaceTime, before all of these different things, if they could cross oceans to come here and give us a better life, you can vote. You can galvanize, you can organize, you can get people to stir up passion, because we are passionate people. So let's take that passion to the polls. Let's take that passion to your pocket. Dig deep, okay? To use the old African American term, we don't mind the money that jingles, but we prefer the kind that folds.
Yes, so you've said it all, Shagun, and your mother and your sister and everybody was in the chat also saying it all too. So anyway, now we're going to a very important battleground state. We're going to Michigan. And yes, the African community in Michigan is organized. We're talking about what are the strategies? What are we doing specifically? Akindele, a leader, another strong leader in this community. Please tell us what's happening in Michigan and how people can get activated.
Well, let's talk about Michigan for a quick second. First of all, thank you for having me on, and greetings to everyone who is part of this coalition tonight. That's right, tonight. The state of Michigan, we're 10 million strong here, sitting on two peninsulas. This is a very important battleground state. Trump was just here today, speaking to 4,000 National Guard members. This is his second trip, I believe, in the last week and a half. Everyone has been here, whether it's Kamala, whether it's Trump, their surrogates have been here. This is high time here in the state of Michigan, and all eyes are on 5.5 million people in Southeast Michigan. That's right, folks. Wayne County, Oakland County, Macomb County, Monroe, and Washtenaw counties. This is what the epicenter of whether we win or lose happens right here where I'm sitting in Southeast Michigan. We have around 60,000 Africans, continental Africans, whether they're Nigerian, Ghanaian, or other, Senegalese, Gambian, statewide, DRC, statewide, right here in the state of Michigan. Now, the most important thing that we must do is start targeting our faith-based organizations to assist in this effort. We got to organize our faith-based leaders. We got to leverage a good absentee voter strategy here and work with the coordinated campaign right here in Michigan, who are working on the Harris Waltz campaign. I have been talking to them, and our African Unity Caucus here of Michigan, we're going to be connecting with them as well. And even most importantly, getting people to canvass. It's one thing to raise money, which is very, very important, very vital. It's another thing to phone bank, but we must knock on doors. This is a Midwestern state. We must knock on the doors. We must have FaceTime with people to explain to folks, especially within our community, why their vote matters, why this particular team, Harris Watts, matters as well. Building a registered voter list, and most importantly, precinct to precinct. You know, I have been preaching here in this state about engaging our precinct delegates, getting our precinct delegates engaged in this whole process. We had recently, I was just at the Michigan Democratic Party convention in Lansing, Michigan this past Saturday. We just have one of our very own Nigerian precinct delegate, Dr. Elizabeth Ajayi Bridges. This is her first time being a precinct delegate. We're very excited. She participated in the entire process, and now we have to get behind her to help engage her precinct on the west side of Detroit to vote, and get others in our community to vote as well. Listen, I just want to say a few things about the how critical the Harris Watts campaign is. Africa matters. I've always said that, whether in my capacity, whether it's NAPAC or the Global African Business Association, Africa matters. We are not the other thing you have to realize about this particular state. We have the largest Middle Eastern population in the country here. So when you're talking about uncommitted and all these things, there's a lot of dynamics going on with this state as it pertains to that. It is imperative to engage our African community to get out the vote. And the reality of the situation is we have to remind them that Africa matters, that trade with Africa matters, and most importantly, we matter, not just as voters, but as stakeholders to transform local communities in the 21st century. That is what we are all about here. And that is the real reason why we must make sure that Michigan is blue. We encourage those who are part of this coalition to join us in Michigan. Please give me a call, shoot me an email, give me a call, shoot a WhatsApp message to me. Hey, I'm in your neck of the woods. What can we do to roll our sleeves up? I'm all about action. Anybody that knows me personally know that I'm about action. I don't waste no time. I don't sit around and talk a whole lot. I am strictly about movement, and I move very, very, very quick. If we have to campaign in Detroit, if we're going to campaign in Lansing or Grand Rapids or Muskegon or Benton Harbor, we are going to go from one side of the state to the other side of the state, building bridges and building coalitions and collaborations to make sure that we have a seat at the table, not just a seat at the table, but let's make sure we own and operate the table and write the contents of the menu the way we see fit. We have a voice. Everybody else can talk about Palestine. People can talk about Israel, but we need to talk about the continent of Africa, whether you're Nigerian or Ghanaian or Guinean or from Gambia or Kenya or South Africa. We need to talk about our own issues, build our own strategies, and most importantly, execute those strategies so that our future generations can have wealth, they can have prosperity, and most importantly, they can live a life of fulfillment. And so this campaign is important to me. You all are important to me. We are here right here in the state of Michigan. We're ready to roll our sleeves up. We have been rolling our sleeves up. The time is now for us to move. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that message from Michigan, and your Michiganders are in the chat, fired up and ready to go. Representative Carol Kazim. Okay, so we were just in Michigan. We're going to hop back over to another battleground state, Pennsylvania. They're saying Pennsylvania might decide this whole election. So please, let's find out what we need to do in order to make sure Pennsylvania goes the right way. Thank
you so much. Yes. I know you guys are all watching. For those that are falling asleep, I need you guys to wake up, shake up, wake up, shake up. It's time to shake some tables. You know, in Africa, we say it's time to shake some tables. So I need you guys to understand. I don't know where any of you guys are all at, but I know there are many watching from abroad. I know there's many in my state, in Pennsylvania. I know there are many across the United States. But here in Pennsylvania, we are the center of this presidential election. It is a swing state, and we are the ones who is going to pick who is the president. So I need my African diaspora. I need you guys to come on board. Let me tell you something. My name is State Representative Carol Kazim, and I am the youngest woman, actually the youngest member, to serve in this entire state. So let me tell you how swingish this state is. I am also the first woman to serve in my specific seat, and I am also the first proud Yoruba girl, Nigerian American elected, but the only African elected on this statewide seat. So I am the only African that represent the entire state of Pennsylvania. And this is something that nobody thought can be done. So when we ask, can this be done to vote for our Vice President Kamala Harris? I know it can be done because we came together for my election alone. Not just Pennsylvanians, many people from Mali, from Senegal, from Nigeria, from Liberia, everyone across the United States came together to advocate and support. Now, that term that you guys all been hearing, when we fight, we win. As a former activist, always going to be an activist, when you hear that term, when we fight, we win, that's been going on for over 6 decades now. That is a call to action that is saying, put your boots on. Put your boots on. So when you hear that, it means put your boots on now. And it means get ready. Get ready to hit the streets. Get ready to fight. Get ready to advocate. Get ready to stand up. Get ready to make sure your voices are heard. Get ready to advocate for your families. Get ready to stand up for yourself. That's what it means when you hear, when we fight, we win. So I want many people to understand that even, I'm going to take you guys on a macro level. We talk about just locally here, right? What goes on in our local states? Why as Africans we should stand up? Why should we vote for Kamala? Kamala is also someone, our vice president, who we are trying to elect as the next president of the United States of America. That is the individual, along with our future vice president, who is going to be working with our world leaders. So everyone that is representing your family back at your home country is going to be at a table with our future leader for the United States of America. So when you talk about opportunities, those are the things that is important to our families, to ourselves here in the U.S. When we talk about our students, our college students, many people flying from abroad to come get educated here. And let me make this be known for many that are not yet even familiar. Africans have the highest level of education in the United States of America, for anyone that is still not even yet assured. So I want you guys to understand that when we talk about opportunities coming over, that is something that we are already a part of the table for. So all we're doing is saying that we're going to collaborate, and we're making sure that they know, don't count us out. Do not count us out. This is a way to make sure that we are not counted out. If you want your voices heard, if you care about the housing crisis that we see, if you care about our children in the schools, because we bring them from, I would say in my home country, Nigeria, to come get education here for free, but look at still the conditions here. It may not be like at home, but look at the conditions here. You still have to advocate about those type of things. So I'm going to ask all of you guys, which my challenge for you all is to ask yourself tonight, if you're still wondering, what is your purpose as an African? What is your purpose here in our country? What is your purpose here when it comes to this election? What is your purpose, whether you're a father, a mother, a grandparent, an aunt, an uncle, or even if you're a student or a child or a youth yourself watching? What is your purpose? What matters to you and your family? I need everyone to get on a grassroots level. We did it with Obama. We could do it again. We did it with Biden. Go talk to your family at home. Talk to your children. Talk to your family. Figure out what matters to you all. What are ways you guys can get connected in your local communities, your local state? And then from there, you bring it back. This is the coalition to do it. Let's get together. We're not going to count ourselves out. Now, when we talk about in the future of what our vice president and president can do, you'll be very surprised that it starts in our local states. So when you're working with leaders, like many of the ones that spoke before, our representatives that spoke, myself, and we're talking about on a federal level, I've worked with the vice president, our current vice president, Kamala Harris. I talked about the agendas when it comes to Pennsylvania for international doctors to be able to break the barriers so they don't have to keep going through so many processes to be able to use their doctoral degree they receive back at home. We talked about teachers being able to get that done. And those things are even being signed by our local governor, Josh Shapiro. And that is being done also because Vice President Kamala Harris recognizes that those things need to be done. So I'm just calling on you guys to not sit back. Now, I just told you I'm a Yoruba girl, so I'm telling you, I'm going to pull my ear and ask you guys, what is your purpose? Don't say that this is not my concern. Don't say this is not my business. Or it is all your business. You care about your family. You live here in this country. Don't say I'm just here living. I'm just making a living. It is your business. It is your business. So get up, put your boots on. They said when we fight, we win. As an activist who've been doing many social justice activism all through this United States and even in Africa, put your boots on. It's time to stand up now. We've done it for many of our races locally. We could do it nationally. Thank you so much. I've said my piece. Thank you for allowing me to come on. I'm expecting all of my Nigerians to get out there because I'm going to come find you all. Please you didn't bring me to this country for no reason. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, please. Are we posting our donations? Thank you so much, Representative Kazim, and for your patience. We truly appreciate it. We know that you have a lot to do, and we really appreciate your time. Again, please post your donations. $50. Okay, come on. Let's start to end this night with a bang. We have Banky coming, Dr. Nee coming. We have Marilyn coming. But first, we're going to go to another very important battleground state. We're going to go to Minnesota. And, okay, yes. Representative Esther, there you are, my dear. Oh, looking so graceful and calm, but we're fired up and ready to go in Minnesota. Please tell us what's happening.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here with all of you tonight. So excited. My name is Representative Esther Agbaje. I represent a district in Minneapolis, and we are so excited that not only do we get the opportunity to elect Vice President Kamala Harris for president, but our very own governor, Tim Walz, will get to be our next vice president. So for those of you who have been following Minnesota, we are bringing what we like to call the politics of joy. That is where we are looking at politics and campaigning and ways to get involved from a joyful lens. Yes, we know that there are a lot of things that we have to prevent, which is why we need to make sure Kamala Harris gets into office. But at the same time that there are all those things we have to prevent, there is a future that we're looking forward. And in Minnesota, we were able to do that future. So the things that Tim Walz brings to the ticket are the things like making sure that there can be free breakfast and lunch for kids, making sure that we have funding for housing to make housing more readily available for more people, making sure we have clean air and water, making sure that our loved ones are taken care of, making sure that we keep families together. These are all the things that we are doing at the state level that are the experiment for governing at the national level when we elect Kamala Harris. So I just want to let you guys know that it's not just the one day of voting, which is important. We want you to go out November 5th. Do not forget, if you have early voting in your state, get it done on the first day, and then you don't have to think about it. So, but think about what happens after. Think about how you will be engaged to ensure that Kamala Harris has the Congress that she needs, that Kamala Harris has the judges that she needs to ensure that our government continues to work for us. As immigrants, as everyone has said before, we have a lot to contribute to this country, but we have to contribute to make it work in the way that we want to make it work. So I just want to leave you all with that. But at the end of it, make sure you have your plan to door knock. Make sure you have your plan to make those phone calls, send those texts, go to those events. And of course, make sure you have your plan to vote. We need your vote. We need your friends to vote. We need your family to vote. Because as everyone has said, It's not just us in this country, it's what's at stake, but it's also internationally. And also knowing that the great things that states like Minnesota are already doing can be done at the national level. So I hope that inspires you. I hope that gets you guys out there and ready to go. I hope you donate tonight. But most of all, make sure you're talking to your friends and family, talking to your neighbors, and letting them know why this election is important for you, what you're voting for, and not only just what we're voting to prevent. So thank you all. Have a great night tonight. And I hope you all do well as we walk and march to victory in November.
Thank you so much, Representative. We truly appreciate it. And we're going to keep it going in Minnesota. Jude, please hop in here and represent. Let us know how you are activating in Minnesota.
Yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity. And I'm happy to follow my sister, Rep. Agbaje, behind. We work together in Minnesota here. It's surprising that many people don't think Minnesota as a swing state, but actually we only have 4 reps out of 134 reps in Minnesota who are Democrats by just 4 rep margin. Same thing with the Senate. Out of 67 senators, only 1 Senate made us blue and made us trifecta this past 2 years. So, and again, Speaker Johnson was here two days ago campaigning for 1 district at Congress level. So we are not a swing state, but actually we are a purple state, and we deserve some attraction. Here, I'm glad that our governor is picked as VP. So he's bringing so much joy to the national level. I'm proud of our coach, our veteran, our father, our governor, Tim Walz, who was nominated by our VP, current VP Harris, to be the vice president in the next 78 days or thereabouts. So we're excited that we have this platform. In Minnesota, we're also building our own coalition, meeting our people on the ground. It's really difficult sometimes to mobilize our people to go to the polls, especially in our state that we have 2 refugee groups one from Liberia and 1 from Somalia. But we've been doing a lot of work. And not only that, we're mobilizing here, knowing that at any point we're campaigning, we know that we encourage our people to vote up and down the ballots. So from all the way from Harris for president to the local elections. And one thing that's very clear, having been in the system for a long time, is that when you go to the polling booth, sometimes when it comes to judges or some other areas, I may not even know anybody running in that space. So being able to use sample ballots, depending on what is at state level, at your state, to educate our people, especially those who are citizens who can vote, but they don't have all the details, is very, very important. So voter education is not just all that detailed education, but ability to go to the polls to vote, or even volunteering to, bus people to the polling stations during the time to vote is very, very important. In Minnesota, we do early voting. If your state does that, especially in the swing states, being able to help our people to go to vote is so critical, especially when they have so much obstructions. And in some cases in our state, they allow us to, our employers to allow the employees to go and vote. But some people may not know that, and they may not have the ability to go on the election day. So being able to take advantage of the early voting is so critical. And then one thing again, that having been part of this process for so long, during Obama time, we have a neighborhood to neighborhood cell or units that we mobilize ourselves, just from one place to another. So ability to mobilize. So I know there isn't much time to do that at national level, but if you can do that in your own community, in your own area, you go to town hall meeting, you go anywhere and educate our people to be able to form a cell, a unit, and mobilize people they know. And one thing again in this election, we're all African immigrants, pushing for our people to vote. However, we in some neighborhood, or in most neighborhoods, you have other people, green, white, yellow, black, living together. So just talk to anybody in your area. So make sure that you talk to them, especially when they have doubts about Kamala Harris, her heritage, or some other doubts about her, you can just have, simple conversation. And from there, somebody who is skeptical, especially if they don't understand Harris' policies or her way of life, you can carry that person along. One vote at a time, one campaign at a time. And I'm glad that I just learned about this organization today, but we're going to, form the alliance, join you guys so that we'll continue to share. And remember why Governor was nominated is because being close in the swing state, so we share boundaries with Wisconsin as well as Michigan. So it's so easy for some of us to travel to those areas. So as we plan ahead of time, we can mobilize people here to go physically to some of the swing states to campaign. And also we can easily do virtual, banking, phone banking, and others to support, especially those in critical battleground states. I was one of the Biden fellows 4 years ago, and I know that through the power of Zoom, we're able to do a lot. So we're still going to, organize ourselves and do more. So thank you for this opportunity. You'll be hearing more from me because as a Niger, we have to do it and we have to win. Thank you.
Hey, always you have to slip the Niger there in there. I thought maybe you would be the one that doesn't do it, but it's okay. Listen, hang on to your seats, people. Thank you so much for staying on, everyone. We will wrap up by around 10 o'clock. You don't want to miss our closing statements, our closing surprise guests. We kind of saved the best for last, so please, stick around. But we're gonna now go to Maryland. Jude talked a bit about, okay, maybe we're not so much battleground, but we're a purple state. We're gonna go to blue states now with Delegate Bernice, because we still have to do the needful. Delegate Bernice, please take it.
Thank you, Adra, and thank you to Sama and everybody on this call tonight. I know we're at the tail end of it, so I will not take long, but I am Delegate Bernice Miracle North. I represent Legislative District 14 in the state of Maryland in Montgomery County. As of now, I'm the only Ghanaian woman representing Montgomery County and representing in the House of Delegates in Maryland, and it's just an honor to be in that space. And I wholeheartedly am supporting Kamala Harris for president. When the slogan came out, "We fight, when we fight, we win," it reminded me of my days as a county prosecutor, like Vice President Harris. When you're a prosecutor, your heart is for the people. You are ready to fight. You are ready to win. And no matter what, it is about the people, not people's personal vendettas, or personal agendas, but it's for the people. It's for the common good. Just make sure that everyone is safe. And so I'm so excited to have her as our presidential candidate, because that is the kind of candidate we need for the times that we are in, the times that we are going to face. We see her as president come January 2025. I see all of you in the DMV area for inauguration. Now, the one I wanted to bring up, because so many people have talked about all the tools to get us motivated and mobile to fight and win, but I really want to deal with sometimes the elephant in the room, right? And that is, are we ready? There's sometimes a sense of lack of confidence. But you know what? All of us on this call are evidence that we are ready. There were soldiers on the ground for us to prepare us for this moment to have Vice President Kamala Harris be a presidential candidate. She's on there because we are already on the ground doing the work. We have already set the tone to allow this assignment to build up. I got to tell you, after the convention, I hit the doors in my neighborhood and I just asked people, how are you feeling? And honestly, I met an 86-year-old woman and her were dancing on the streets. That is how excited people are. It is so critical for all of us to be out there, not just door knocking, but to donate to the campaign, to help us as elected officials at the state level. And I appreciate the sister from Pennsylvania, the Nigerian, talking about the state level is where it's at. We are on the ground talking to them, urging them to vote for Kamala. We are on the ground trying to encourage them that it's going to be okay, because yes, this is going to be a first. This is going to be historic, and we don't need to be nervous because, like I said, we already on the ground. We've already been the foot soldiers that presidential candidate Kamala Harris has been waiting for. This is why we're on this call until probably 10 o'clock, maybe a little bit after, starting from 7 o'clock. We are ready. We are mobile. We are going to win. And I encourage all of you to not just phone bank, not just door knock, but yes, start the WhatsApp group among your worship, among your schools, your child provider groups, anywhere that you are moving about in your space. Create these groups to remind each other, this is important. We cannot go back. 8 years ago, my daughter was born the year Trump got elected. I remember holding her in my arms at 3 weeks old, thinking, what have we done as a country? I know I don't want to go back to that time. I don't want any mother to go back to that time. So I'm fighting for our future, for our economy, as women, our bodies. These are things we have to keep in mind when we are door knocking, when we are donating, when we are talking to our folks at church, at the mosque, when we're talking to folks at the grocery stores, at the association picnics for our particular hometown associations in our respective African countries. This is how we have to do the work, and we can't rest until the work is done on November 7th. After the election is over. And again, I hope to see all of you in the DMV area in January when we celebrate the victory that we're all working for right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Bernice. I want to say, as a Maryland resident, as a DMV longtime resident, I'm very proud to have you. And again, the contingencies for states like these are strong, having African diaspora representatives like you. And we thank you for that opportunity. We're now going to give it over to our colleague, Nneka, who is going to introduce our next panelist. Nneka, I see you're there. We're going to move over to you.
Thank you so much, Simhar. What a night. I mean, the momentum is here and we're going to keep it going. We now have another legend from Maryland. We have the wonderful Wala Blege joining us, representing Prince George's County, representing District 6. I mean, welcome.
Hey,
welcome.
everyone.
Hello.
I know it's getting late, but I want to say this. I'm still excited. And it was nice to go through the comments and see how many people were from Maryland and Prince George's County. I know Prince George's County is in the house. I'm Councilwoman Wala Blege. I'm your Liberian and Nigerian sister. And I'm here to tell you I'm excited because I want to give stories of why this is an important time. Let me just take you back to 2019 for my Liberian family. For the first time, we had DED status, almost TPS that turned into DED status, was about to be snatched from us under the Trump administration. And I want to take you all back to that time. For the first time, we had our Liberian brothers and sisters facing deportation. We had to get together, organize. I know some of you that are on here, I can see from some of the comments, some of you on there, we went to Capitol Hill pleading, getting Democrats to help us, including reaching out to our vice president's office, asking for help. And let me just tell you this, when we sat in the rooms, we got stories of those officials in the Trump administration saying demeaning things about us, unwilling to extend the status of my Liberian brothers and sisters who were facing deportation. But it took the swift work of the Democratic Party, along with Vice President Harris, to make sure that we kept our Liberian brothers here and sisters here. And I would even remind you all, when we sat in that gallery, it was the Republican Party that got up and said that we were saving people who were criminals. As I sat next to nurses, doctors, people who are saving lives, that were possibly facing deportation, a social worker, even somebody that was working working for therapists, working in hospitals, all of the things. And we were able to save them from deportation. We don't want to go back to that. I don't want to relive that again. And I was a lawyer then, an advocate, and it made me nervous to say that I needed to get in office to make sure that I could put my voice forward. And I would say this, with immigration issues, let's remember our families, our people are going through it. Our African community is going through it. And even in preparation, when I started getting nervous about this election, I started having events to make sure that those in our community get access to lawyers, because the future, we cannot go back. And let me just add this. If anybody needs to know What do we, some people say, what has this administration done? What has this administration done for people? Let me just tell you this. In Prince George's County in the state of Maryland, we've got so much funding from the federal government, and that's for every state on this call. And what they don't tell you, what you don't know, which hasn't been publicized that much, is how many programs, how many times this federal government has saved local government from going on during the pandemic, paying for workforce development programs, paying towards our we get money to give support to our businesses from ARPA funds. Right now we just put almost $12 million into giving health insurance for the undocumented community or those who are underinsured and uninsured. And that comes from the Biden-Harris administration. We were able to put money not only for workforce development, to food for people in our community, to make sure rental assistance. So when someone tells you, what has this administration done? They've done nothing. Just know that you're sitting next to someone that got food because of this administration. You're sitting to someone that is not on the street evicted because of this administration. I'm in a community in Prince George's County. We are Africa proud. 40% of the businesses in Prince George's County are owned by African immigrants. And a lot of those in our community have gotten support from programs within the county. That you just assume that's your government doing it for you, but they don't know that those fundings are coming from the Biden-Harris administration. So let's make sure we put the word out. Don't let anybody tell you that this administration has done nothing for people, or the question that we also get is, what have they done? They've done so much. They've done so much that we need to get the word out and let people know this administration has done great for us, and it will be even better with Vice President Kamala Harris. So to all my African brothers and sisters, I'm telling you all right now, let's move forward. Let's make sure that this administration wins. And I will tell you this, we've been doing a lot of talking, but we need to do more donating. And I'm going to send my donation today. And I ask you all to do it. Let's do $25, $50, $100. And if somebody can do $500, let's do that. Let's show our strength. Let's show our face to the Vice President Harris that we are going to be the funders. We want funders to make sure that she wins this election. We've been hearing men for Harris, women for Harris, all of them raising $1 million, $2 million. Let's raise our millions today. And I want to say this, I'm so proud of us that we're organizing, and let's take this to the next level, because when we fight, we will win, and we will not go back. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Always wonderful to have you. And I know it's also late for everybody. We're going to keep it moving. So next we have Councilperson Janelle from New Mexico. We're going to bring you on and get you going.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Semhar, and to the organizers for this amazing call, for having me on as a bit of a last-minute addition, but I'm very happy to be here. I apologize for some technical difficulties that have me talking to y'all on my phone, but yes, I'm State Representative Janelle Nyanornu. I represent the International District of Albuquerque, New Mexico, which is the most diverse district in the state. My father immigrated to the U.S. from Nigeria, and I'm a very proud member of the very small African diaspora in New Mexico. But obviously, New Mexico is a border state, so immigration issues are a forever topic for us. Under our prior governor, who was a Republican, immigrants were largely demonized, but fortunately, for the last 6 years, under our Democratic governor and through strong Democratic control of the legislature, we've had great success in reversing that course. And we've succeeded largely by keeping the focus, as we've heard time and again, at the state legislative level and through positive reforms. So in essence, our strategy has been to keep anti-immigrant forces on the defense. And while, immigrants are demonized by some groups, and I should say that the southern portion of New Mexico is predominantly red and not particularly inclined to be compassionate to that issue, we still in the legislature work very carefully to frame issues involving our immigrant communities as a need for reform that works well for everyone, because it is. Obviously, we know that when our immigrant communities are doing well, we all do well. So we put the anti-immigrant rhetoric on its heels by working to end bad policies that are still in effect, and by emphasizing that America is a country of immigrants. I mean, when I've been out door knocking and I'm confronted by that kind of anti-immigrant sentiment and responses, I explain that immigrants built America. I sympathize with their really real concerns, but I fight the idea that those concerns are based on immigration. And I do that by sharing my story, by sharing VP Harris's story, and explaining that everyone deserves an opportunity in America. And that means we need to grow the pie for everyone, right? So if any of these strategies can be of use to you while you're out door knocking and talking to people, talking to voters, please use them. We need to get these votes out for Kamala Harris. And just like Walla mentioned previously, hit that donate button. And I want to stress specifically, hit the donate button that we are providing for you, because the Harris campaign will see just how much the diaspora has raised and is showing up for Kamala Harris as we get her elected in November. So thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Janelle.
Thank you, Janelle. And
working with us on the tech issues. I know we still had a little more. Okay, so next on the lineup, we have got, I've got too many people waiting. Let's see. We've got, where is our friend Sah? And okay, so we've got Sah, and then right after that, our friend Clarence from Africans for Harris. Could we introduce you, Sah, and give it to you? And then we'll get you up here. You got your camera, sir? You got an audio there?
Yes, yes.
Now, for
Can you
those
hear me
who may
okay?
not, yes, and just by way of introduction, our friend Sah is a renowned artist, thespian, musician, creative, also one of the brains behind the Broadway play Fela, and also accomplished Broadway actor. So our Sierra Leonean brother is here. We're going to diversify the West African representation and give it to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, very excited to participate. Glad that this is happening. I have something that I'm going to read. This will be about 4 minutes, and it's specific.
My brother.
Yeah, can you hear me?
In the interest of time, yeah. In
Yes.
the interest of time, is there an excerpt from that, and then we can share the full read to all of our followers?
Absolutely.
Is there,
Okay, let's see. Yeah, let's start in the middle. This really is more about people who aren't sure if they want to vote at all. Many Africans in this country understand what it means to live under the rule of a dictator, the type who plans to die in office and does not care what citizens in their country prefer. These are people who have been cleared by their cherry-picked Supreme Court justices and magistrates to silence, blackmail, torture, deport, or kill whomever they see fit for any manner of insult, opposition, perceived threat, or annoyance. TIA. This is Africa. We know the playbook and we've seen the results. Does anyone recall what it was like waking up in America one morning around 8 years ago to find out that countless strangers, friends, and loved ones were suddenly being denied entry into the US as they alighted from their planes? There was chaos at international airports all over the nation. The same regime who did that now also suggests deporting millions from this country, apparently on day one. Who is on that list? What will be the surprising criteria for deportation or the new criteria to deny entry? My point is, for those of us, those of you who have already seen it, do we really want to find out how far America can travel down such a path? If you're not planning to vote and you have family members elsewhere who are planning to visit you here in America, departing from what might be considered a quote shithole country, you might want to suggest that they get their visas before November or not. Hey, if you don't vote, you might find that in 4 years, not only will your choice not matter, it may be so that you no longer have the opportunity to weigh in. 400 years ago, our African brothers and sisters had no choice in coming to this country. They and our Native American brothers and sisters sacrificed their lives, securing many of the rights that most Americans now possess. For many generations now, Africans have made the choice to participate in American life, for better or for worse, for the future of our families. As of 2023, the continent with the highest population of youth on planet Earth is Africa. 40% of the continent's population is under 15 years old. Africans do not want to invade America or Europe or anywhere else. Africans want a better life for Africans in Africa. Will Harris walls Will a Harris Walls White House put African dictators on notice? Will it open new frontiers for the private sector? Will the knock-on effects gradually improve the lives of the working class and poor across that vast continent? That all remains to be seen. Who can predict the future? In the meantime, I will be voting, obviously, for the Harris Walls ticket. It would make a world of difference if you vote, believe it or not. Whatever you decide, clearly, the choice is yours for now. All right. That is all, and I'll give you the rest at another time. Signing off.
Thank you so much for that beautiful prose. Actually, it was very emotional, and kind of a reminder of what is at stake. Go on that thread. So excited to introduce Dr. Nee, who had I don't know if you are a witch or something. You knew this was going to happen. You wrote a book about Kamala and the motherland, and it dropped, was it maybe a week or two before she became the presumptive nominee?
Days after,
and you were there to witness her trip in person. We've talked about immigration. We've talked about all the domestic issues. We touched slightly on U.S.-Africa policy, but Dr. Nee, please share with us what you think how this administration will mean the difference in the years to come.
Sure. Thank you, Ajwa, and thanks to everybody who organized this call. I'll be brief, but I want to encourage everybody to pick up this book, Kamala, the Motherland, and Me. It is what I believe is some of my best work yet. I had the good fortune of traveling to Ghana, to Tanzania, and Zambia on Air Force Two with Vice President Harris last spring. And it was such a compelling trip. I came back and believed I had a duty to write this book that really re-examines our assumptions about Madam Vice President, the continent of Africa, and ourselves. And so, I just wanted to share just a brief excerpt from the book. This is the only book interview that Vice President Harris has sat for while she's been Vice President. I am very humbled to be the author that gets to capture her thoughts forever on the page. And I asked her during that interview, I said, Madam Vice President, can you tell us how you would define U.S.-Africa interests, and why should Americans care about what's happening in Africa? Vice President Harris told me, she said, quotes, well, let's start with this. The median age on the continent of Africa is 19. By the year 2050, it's estimated that 1 in 4 people occupying space on Mother Earth will be on the continent of Africa. So understand then that as much as anything, I believe the future of the world will be determined or largely influenced by what happens on the continent of Africa. Number two, as Vice President, I feel strongly that we have to update, if not change, the narrative around how we think about the continent, and that yes, there's good work that's happened to address global public health issues, what needs to be done in terms of dealing with child poverty and a number of those things, but also let us understand the extraordinary innovation and the dynamic nature of what's happening on the continent, and understand that we should think of our relationship with the continent and with the countries on the continent, not in terms of benevolent terms of aid, but how we can partner, how we're doing for the continent, but what we're doing with the continent. So I purposely curated my trip to the continent in a way that was very intentional about highlighting the incredible innovation and work that's happening there, in particular among young entrepreneurs, to highlight this very point. And I purposely then curated a trip that I would bring, members of the diaspora along to emphasize the intertwined history between the United States and the continent, and doing that with a vision towards also what will be an intertwined relationship in the future. That's just a taste. That's just a taste of the insights that are in this book. You see the picture of me and VP Harris in her West Wing office for this interview. We know that AGOA will expire in September 2025. And who sits in that Oval Office has an opportunity to reimagine and revamp AGOA, or really create harm by allowing AGOA to just sort of die on the vine, right? That's one of the things that is on the line. But when it comes to fighting climate change, when it comes to digital inclusion, when it comes to so many issues that we care about and that we're connected to, Vice President Harris has tapped in. And the last thing I will say, I asked her a question, foodie to foodie. Anything away, but she is acutely aware, and you've got to read the book to get a sense of what kind of jollof rice our Vice President enjoys. Adjoa?
Okay, well, I'm going to have to give it to Semhar because my twins are up. Thank you.
Yeah, well, Dr. Nee, listen, we're so excited to even hear about the book. I saw the book and just the timing was impeccable. I'd seen it before the nomination, but it's really excellent that you've put something together documenting her journey and work on Africa. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're going to move. We've got just 2 more speakers left, and then we can wrap this up with a big bang, okay? So again, African Diaspora for Harris is a coalition organization of African diaspora organizations, communities, and individuals. You can join ADH by visiting our website, africandiasporaforharris.com/join. Sign the pledge that just says you're all here for collaborative partnership and working together. Make that donation, click on the donate button. But we are going to turn it over to one of our coalition partners, Africans for Harris, an organization that really was born out of this moment of Kamala's nomination. Clarence, are you there?
Yes, I am. You hear me okay? Hey, good evening, everyone. And thanks again to all our wonderful organizers, our wonderful sisters, Semhar, Adjoa, and Neka. And I know it's getting late, and the energy is still quite high, judging by everyone on the call. So Clarence Dagam is my name, from Africans for Kamala Harris. So again, like Semhar mentioned, we really began this movement. It's exactly almost 1 month ago. So tomorrow we'll make it 1 month. Basically out of the enthusiasm and excitement about electing Kamala Harris, and really inspired by the simple African proverb that says, to go fast, you go alone, to go far, you go together. So we are really about coming together so we can all go far and make a long-lasting impact, not just here in the USA, but also back in our communities back home through the great policies that VP Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, we can expect that it will bring and enact to law. So we've been growing really rapidly. We're over 2,000 members, but we know that's not good enough. And this is really what brings us to our call to action. Number one, think about it. We're like 2,000 strong. If we just reach out to 5 more people, we'll be about 10,000 strong. And we know 10,000 can make or break an election like we saw in Georgia or in Wisconsin, in really close elections. So my challenge to each and every one of us is, let's go out there, let's find 5 people, talk to them, get them engaged so they come on board, not just part of the coalition, but also have a plan to go vote, which brings me to my second call of action, having it registered to vote and also have a clear plan to vote. One thing I find among most of our fellow movement members are the enthusiasm, the excitement about the polls. That is great. We love the polls. It's wonderful news. But we know that polls don't win elections. Vote does. So please, while we are excited about polling, which is good stuff for us, we love those polls, let's make sure that we are registered to vote, our voting is current, and we have a plan to go vote. Very, very important. And the last thing, which is very important for all of us, we know this campaign will be closed. It takes a lot of funding to organize, to open offices, to communicate, to buy those ads. So let's do our part to fundraise. We fundraise and we're going to support the candidate. That way she has the resources she needs to get this to the finish line. So just want to encourage everyone on the call tonight, let's do something. We have like 71 days to go. Let's get up every single day, do something. Whether it's making a call, is donating, getting someone to come on board, talking to someone that may not necessarily be on board to come on board, because together we can make a difference. Originally, I'm from Cameroon, so I also want to say thank you so much to my Cameroon brothers and sisters in the call. Bonsoir, mes amis, mes frères camerounais. Since no one spoke French tonight, so good to have you on the call tonight. And let's bring this to the finish line. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Clarence. We're so happy to have you. Okay, and now we're going to turn it over to my collaborator, colleague, partner in crime, Nneka Achapu, who will introduce our last and final speaker. Nneka, you there?
Thank you so much, Samhar. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce a multifaceted individual who has made significant strides in the world of entertainment, business, and public service. Banky is a true Renaissance man, an awards winning singer, songwriter, and entrepreneur, and a passionate advocate for positive change. Banky is not only a celebrated artist who has left an indelible mark on the African music industry, but he's also a visionary leader who has leveraged his platform to inspire and uplift others. As the founder of Empire Mates Entertainment, he's played a pivotal role in shaping the careers of some of Nigeria's biggest music stars. And so, beyond the world of entertainment, he's deeply committed to public service, to social causes, to youth empowerment, and political activism. So, we're so glad to have him here with us, sharing his story about running for office, about supporting Kamala Harris, and just bringing a fresh and transformative leadership to the Nigerian community and beyond. So thank you so much, Banky, for joining us tonight.
Thank you very, very much. I hope you guys can hear me. Good evening, everyone. My name is Banky Wellington, bringing you a lot of love and light all the way from Lagos, Nigeria, and the DMV area. I see my people in the comment section. Good evening, everybody, all my African people, all my Niger people in the building. I am currently in the DMV area in Maryland. I'm actually attending Georgetown University. I'm getting a master's in policy, and I'm so excited to be in the DC area for this election season. It is a crazy time, and it is an absolute pleasure and a privilege to be able to partner with the African Diaspora team to play a somewhat active role in making Madame Kamala Harris the 47th President of the United States of America, and to make Governor Walz the next Vice President by the grace of God. But we all need to play our part. Listen, we've been on this call for a long time. Thank you guys for sticking around to hear all of the amazing speakers who've shared with us tonight. This is the bottom line, guys. No one can do everything, but everyone can do something. And if we all do what we can, then we will absolutely win this election. So please, very simple. Number one, contribute. If you can contribute, please contribute. No amount is too small. No amount is also too big. Okay, let's put our money where our mouth is. Let's not just talk or tweet or chat in the comment section. If it's $5, $10, $20, $1,000, whatever it is, let's do it. And I want to encourage us to please share the link africandiasporaforharris.com/donate. We'll put it in the chat section. africandiasporaforharris.com/donate. It's important that we organize and we contribute as a group because it gives us more leverage. It puts us in a position to hold people accountable when they do get into power, when we show that as a group, this is what we brought to the table. So yes, I know we've probably made our own contributions to different campaigns at different times, but I think it's really powerful what is happening here tonight if we can collectively do that contribution. So that's number one, contribute. Number two, collaborate. You can collaborate by volunteering. There are a lot of amazing organizations that have spoken here tonight. You can join any one of them. You can knock on doors. You can canvass. Let's get the vote out. Let's call our cousins, our mothers, our fathers, our brothers, our sisters, our kids, our family and friends. Those of you who are in swing states, we are depending on you. But whether you're in a swing state or not, we are still depending on you. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, and this leads me to the last point. We must be counted in this election. We must contribute, we must collaborate, but we must stand up and be counted. Don't forget, yes, we're going to make Madam President the next president of the United States, but also Congress is just as important, right? Because a bad Congress can handcuff a good president. And so we need the votes up and down the ballot in every state to give Madam President the majority that she needs in Congress to get things done. A bad Congress can handcuff a good president. So please, let's get the vote out. Let's contribute, especially if we can through this African Diaspora for Harris.com/donate link. Let's chip in our little bit. Let's take some ownership in the government that we want to see. I personally believe with all of my heart that she will be the first African American, emphasis on African American, the first Asian American, the first lady to become president of the United States. But this isn't just about making history. It's about securing the future of the American democracy, the future of our brothers and sisters and family members who are all based in the United States or connected to the United States. You know, we must acknowledge that we won't all agree on every single policy issue, but it's not about that. It's about understanding that really there are two clear-cut choices in this election, and we know which side of the table the side of the table that believes in us, that has our ears, the side of the table that we can hold accountable, the side of the table that we belong. Okay, and this is where we belong. With the Harris-Walz campaign, please, for the future of the American democracy, for the future of the Africans who are based here, who are connected here, as we all are. As many of you know, I'm Nigerian, but I'm also African, but I am also American. I was born in the United States. My parents, my siblings all live here. So this election is very, very important to me, to my family, and to most of you. You know, there's a choice in this election between those who have chosen really to demonize immigrants, to demonize our people, to call us terrorists and criminals. And we're not in any way supporting terrorists or criminals, but we are saying that we bring so much more to the table. So this is about being on the side of the table, investing in the vision that we believe in, but also in the vision that believes in us as a people, as Africans, as what we do, as who we are. My sister earlier was saying, you know, Africans are the most educated group in the United States. It's true. Nigerians actually specifically are the most educated group of people in the United States. So we have so much at stake in this election, and we have a fighting chance. And so with these few words of mine, as my Nigerians would say back in the day, with these few words of mine, I hope I've been able to convince you and not confuse you to play your part in making Madam Kamala Harris the 47th president of the United States of America. Don't forget, contribute, collaborate, stand up and be counted. God bless you, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.
Amazing, amazing. Banky, you are one in a million. That's exactly the kind of fire we want to end the night with. So we're now going to bring our team back together for all of you and give it to my sisters, Nneka and Ajwa. What do you have? What do you got?
Well, listen, I am so fired up and ready to roll. I just want to thank everyone who joined us tonight and extend a special thanks to our national co-organizer for African Diaspora for Harris, Semhar, and Ajwa. Without them, this wouldn't have been possible. Our colleagues join us from all over the United States, but this year, guys, the African Diaspora will play a crucial role in making sure that we're going to be leading to victory. So first and foremost, I want to make sure that everybody has got the information. I know we've said it many times, but let's do it again. Make sure that you're registered to vote, and that if you can, vote early. Check your status on vote411.org. Remember, different states have different registration deadlines, and we must be vigilant, especially in states where voter suppression is rampant. So it is our duty to continue mobilizing and educating our voters. If you have an opportunity to partner with African cultural organizations to host voter registration drives, civic engagement activities, we must do these things. We must use every platform. We must try to get our friends from every nook and corner, whether it's targeting them on WhatsApp, whether it's on Instagram or Twitter. We must share information about our virtual events, in-person events, and everything that is happening. Let's get our influential community leaders and activists in supporting all of these GOTV efforts. We also must create culturally relevant materials that resonate with all of our people. So if you have the chance to be able to, you know, have a social media message in Amharic, or a social media message in Twi, or in Igbo, because our people, while they're still citizens, they still speak different languages. So if we're able to propagate this message out into our world and our communities, this is a tremendous opportunity, especially for us first-time voters to get engaged. So make sure that you're connecting with all of your friends and all of your people, especially the young folks, on how to vote and how to be involved so that we can finally have a better role in U.S. politics and civic participation. So I'm so glad to have been here tonight, and I look forward to working with every one of you in all of the states. Shout out to Texas, and thank you so much for joining us. Thank you.
Samar, you're on mute.
Thank you. I was going off. Thank you, Ajwa. I said, do y'all see this energy? I hope you carry it with you throughout the week, throughout the next 2 months. We've got 70 days to get the vote out. But also remember, this is beyond November 5. This is about our voice with the Harris administration, effective January 20th or whenever that inauguration day is. On behalf of this team, on behalf of myself, I'm a member of the Eritrean community, and it means so much to be a part of this event. On behalf of the next generation of kids that are staying up with us tonight, this is really that moment to make that vote, to cast your vote, because the consequences could look completely different for us. The consequences could be dire. But what we want to do is the politics of joy, and stay with that joy and believe in it and practice it, donate and show up. So with that, I'm going to give it to Ajwa, and we're going to say thank you again to everybody, to our speakers, and to all of you for joining us. Ajwa?
Well, I won't talk long because if you only can hear, my twins are just like about done with this call. But I just want to say that even the comments were so inspiring tonight. I saw a lot of questions about what to do next, how to get mobilized. So please, this is not the last call. We will have more activities coming up, including a weekend of action, September 6th through 8th. In various states. We're going to African markets. We're going to African restaurants with the campaign. We'll also have some activities on September 17th, which is National Voter Registration Day, and more to come in October. So thank you so much for everything tonight.
You're on mute, someone.
Thank you, everybody. I said go on and spread the word. Take this energy, and we'll see you at our next event. Join the coalition. Sign up. We'll see you. Bye, everyone.